What's up, y'all? What's going on? How about it this morning? How about it? What it is? What's up? What's going on? What's going on? Y'all know what time it is. It is that time again where you can watch an undereducated hick from Alabama perform an intellectual takedown of the Christian faith, doctrine, and logic for your entertainment. But also, hopefully, to make the world a better place too. Because the second we get rid of these ridiculous and dangerous religious doctrines, we're bound to do better, aren't we? What do we got? What's it say? Soldier person, if you request it up on purpose and you're a Christian, hang out for just a minute. And we haven't barely been on for a minute yet. So let's let a person or two pile up in here. Actually, I'll go ahead and bring it up. Just mute up for a second. All right. Wait, what? Oh, my phone's turned off anyway. All right. Anyway, y'all know that this October in Huntsville, Alabama, it's going down. The Rocket City Reason Conference is going down this Huntsville. This not this Huntsville, in Huntsville, this October 23rd and 24th and 25th. You can get your tickets for that at rocketcityreason.com and come hang out with some of the coolest motherfuckers that ever lived in October. It'll be awesome. All right, well, let's see what's up today. What's going on? Let's see if we can find some debates in here. Soldier person, if you're there, come on up for me, please. Oh, he's not there. All right. So we are trying to catch the crowd before church. We're going to send out some Holy Spirit vibes this morning. But anyway, the idea on Sundays is that we catch them before they run off to church. Get that old Holy Spirit flowing for them today. Ain't that fun to do? Ain't that a good time? Anyway, welcome back, welcome in. We've been fired up for almost 2 minutes now, so we're going. It is pretty early. You got to catch them early on Sundays, KC, before they go off to church. Make sure we send them to church with the Holy Spirit quite full in them. Have to make sure the Holy Spirit came in them this morning. And get it all flowing right. I caught Gallus' show with Volsey last night, by the way. It was really good. Really, really good. All right, cool. All right. What is up, everybody? We are ready to get this day started. Been fired up for 3 or 4 whole minutes now. Yeah, Volsey's awesome. Then again, so is Godless, so it's quite the pair. Quite the pair. Quite the pair out there. Anyway, welcome in, everybody. We are back again, looking for debates with the Christians. Or sometimes Hebrew Israelites. Jesus did not come through here. His minions did, though. They do it quite often. If you can show me one internal contradiction in any given book. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them. There's shitloads of them, actually. And the fact that you haven't seen one makes me suspect you've never even read the book. Anyway, come on up. I'll give you plenty of them. We can watch you deconvert in real time. It'll be really cool. Anyway, Christians or Hebrew Israelites, come on up. The stage is open. The show is going. We are rocking and rolling. I'm sure they'll find him wherever they look. Perhaps in a tree. I looked in a tree and found Jesus. Looked in a tree and found Jesus. Like, how can you not believe in Jesus? Have you even looked at a tree? My goodness. Yeah, I was raised as a Christian, baptized twice, up in my mid 20s. I learned that you should probably question some things that don't make sense to you, and the second I figured out you're supposed to question it, I dropped it right then because I already knew it was going to fail. Because the Bible is full of contradictions. It gets its own theology wrong. It gets history wrong. It gets science wrong. Biology wrong. You name it, it's wrong. There's no reason to trust any of this crap. And I can't justify serving a God that is a psychopathic murderer who's probably also a narcissist. So I don't. You know. So you'll show one in the book. Scripture is many books. Yeah, come on up and I'll show you. We got a whole lot of contradictions we can go over. A whole bunch of them. And I mean a lot. How much time you got, mister? No, I'm not arguing with the dude in the comments. You're going to have to come up here in person. Or else just sit there and listen. I'm sure they'll come up. Come up eventually. Anyway, the stage is wide open. If you are a Christian or a Hebrew Israelite, come on up and be the first guest of the day. Which would you like to discuss? Contradiction and opinions. I don't know what you mean by discussing opinions, but I mean, whatever. As long as it's one of these topics here, we can talk about it. It'll be fun. I'm somewhat knowledgeable on the subject. Oh, here's King, man. All right, let's bring King up. King Emmanuel. Hey, what's up, buddy? You there?
Hi, how you doing?
All right,
Sorry,
thanks for asking, man.
sorry,
It's all right.
you may hear background noises, around children where I am, so please excuse
Oh, it's all
me.
right. Yeah, that's all
Okay.
right. So you're over 18?
Sorry?
Are you over 18?
Am I over what?
18 years old?
Oh, yeah, of course. I'm close to 40 years now, so it's fine.
Cool. And you're one of the Christians or Hebrew Israelites?
No, I'm a Christian.
Cool, man. All right, so which one of these topics you want to talk with us about? Well, he dropped. I don't know what happened. I guess his signal shut down. Oh, there he is. I don't know what happened. Hold on a second.
Hello?
Oh, there you go, buddy. Sorry, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, sorry, my device has an issue, so that's why it went off. Yeah, so do you want me to address one of the issues on the screen, or do you have any question directly, that you want to ask me?
No, you just pick a topic on the screen and we'll talk about it.
Okay, so for me, I sincerely do believe that Christianity as a religion may have problems, but Christianity as
Yeah, I
a
can barely hear
religion.
you, man. You got
Wait,
too
can you
much
hear?
noise going on in the back.
Sorry. Is it better a bit now? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's a little better. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I said I believe that Christianity as a religion, of course, may have its own issues, like every other religion in the world, but Christianity as a relationship does not have that problem because I believe that the truthfulness of Jesus' relationship with his children every day, let me use myself as an example. Every day, I get to learn more about who he is from his word and from talking to him. So that's my understanding. Do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, you talk to Jesus.
Yes, I do.
Can you ask him something for me?
What would you like me to ask him?
I mean, just if we ask him a question, he would answer you, right? And you could tell us back.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
Oh, okay. So why does he condone slavery? Is what I would like to
Okay.
know.
Okay. Are you talking from the Old Testament?
It's the Old and New Testament.
No, slavery is not in the New Testament.
Yes, it is.
Please show me.
Jesus gives us some insight into his kind of how he views slavery.
Okay, let me know. Let's look at it together. Could you share that opinion?
Sure. Could you ask Jesus real quick? Um,
No, no. When I tell you, I talk to Jesus. Of course, sometimes I can get that answer from His Word, and sometimes it can come from personal revelation. So, but this takes. It's not for me to determine the time He gets to answer me. Like now, 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 now. No, I wait on Him. Bible says they that wait on the Lord. Yeah. So we wait on Him. He doesn't wait on us. But go
so you
ahead.
can ask him a question if we
Yeah,
asked
yeah,
you a
no, no, I
question.
can't. No, what I'm saying to you is I can
Huh.
ask him a question, easy, but I can also expect him to give me an answer either from his word or from personal revelation, and I have to wait for that answer. That's what I'm saying to you. But we can
Oh,
discuss the
okay.
Bible. We can discuss the Bible. That's fine. I'm okay. I'm open to that.
Oh, okay. Well, do you think Jesus is God himself?
Yeah, yeah, I do believe in that, 100%.
Oh, okay. Well, Jesus allowed slavery in the Old Testament, and he certainly didn't forbid it in the New.
Okay, so which one do you want us to tackle first, the old or the new?
Well, the Old Testament law, Jesus says you have to keep the law, and this is part
So
of the law.
give me.
So,
So when Jesus no, so Jesus said, "I did not come to." He said, "I did not come." Hold on, sorry, just hold on 1 minute. Yeah, please let me take him inside. Just yeah, I'm on a live here. Please just give me 2 minutes. Okay. So, sorry. As I was saying, Jesus said, "I did not come to destroy the law. I came to fulfill it." So,
right.
in in every sense of the word, everything that Jesus came to fulfill, as you had it in the law, was fulfilled permanently in him. So the law does not have to be kept again. But if you are referring to the Old Testament,
So, wait a minute. So, you're saying you don't have to keep the law?
no, 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 we don't have to keep the law of Moses. The law of Moses for
Really? Because
justification.
Jesus says you do have to keep it until heaven and earth pass away.
No, so that scripture you are
Yeah.
quoting, could you put it up on the screen or, let's look
Well,
at
I
it
can't put it
together?
on the screen, but I can read it for you. It's real famous.
Okay,
He says, "For
yeah.
truly I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one letter, not one stroke of a letter will pass from the law until all is accomplished."
Could you quote
Pretty
that
straight up.
scripture? I want to open it from here too.
Yeah, it's Matthew 5, verse 18.
Okay, 1 minute, please. Matthew 5, verse 18. 1 minute, sorry.
Damn. Last time I looked, there was 12 people in here, and I turn around, there's 50 now. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. Yeah, so
Yeah.
okay, so I've seen it. So what okay, so let me read 7 and which for what it is, the 18th part still actually buttresses the point I made earlier. So when you said sorry. Yeah, yeah, I'm coming. Just give me some time here. So Matthew 5 verse 17 says, "Do not think I have come to abolish the law and the prophets. I have not come to abolish, but to fulfill them." Then 18
Right.
answers it. 18 answers your question. He said, "For truly I say unto you, until
I didn't have a
heaven."
question. I was telling you what it said.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm explaining that because obviously you got it wrong. So I'm trying to explain that to you.
No, I didn't get it wrong. I just read it to you. I said,
Yeah,
"For
yeah, yeah.
truly I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one letter, not one stroke of a letter will pass from the law until all is accomplished." He's clearly saying, until heaven and earth pass away, not one letter or the stroke of a letter is going to change.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
Yeah,
Jesus
that's what I'm saying.
fulfilled that law already when he came to die. So
Did
fulfilling
heaven and
it.
earth pass away?
Did heaven and earth what?
Did heaven and earth pass
What did you
away?
say? Say that again, please.
Did heaven and earth pass away?
So of course, the heavens and the earth didn't pass, but Jesus let us
Right.
understand that he had
So
already come to
did
fulfill
Jesus
it.
say here that he said the law will be fulfilled when I die, or did he say until heaven and earth pass away, not one letter or stroke of a letter is going to pass from the law?
Well, if you look at 18, it says, "Will by any means disappear from the law." That would I'm on a
Yeah.
call, please. Don't pull me. Hold on, please, sir. He said, "Until everything is accomplished." Accomplished. You see, the key word
Until
there is
heaven and
accomplished.
earth pass away. Until heaven and earth pass away.
Yes. So now, if you don't need to stop there. That's what I'm saying to you. Don't stop there. When it says, "Not the smallest letter, not the least stroke of pen, will by any means." Now, this is the key. If you stick at that point, you won't get the key. It's two in one. It says, "Will by any means disappear from the law until everything is accomplished." It is the accomplished part
Yeah,
that you
everything's
need
not
to focus
accomplished
on.
because heaven and earth haven't passed away. The end of the age didn't come. Not if you
So
ask
so
Jesus anyway. If you ask Paul, it did.
so, what did you say?
If you ask Paul, the law is abolished. But if you ask Jesus, it's clearly going to stand until heaven and earth pass away.
So Jesus lets us understand that, and he's the same person that said what you are saying, but he's still the same person that wrapped it up. So I think you should look at the underlying part of what he said when he said, "Until heaven and earth passed away." He says, "On the law remains until everything is accomplished." That's the
Yeah,
key.
and he says it'll be accomplished when heaven and earth pass away. It says
No.
until heaven and earth pass away. Not one dot or stroke of a letter is going to pass from the law.
So, but what if you think the accomplished part does not matter as much? Why
It's not
why
accomplished until heaven and earth pass away. Like, why are you throwing half of the sentence away?
No, I'm not throwing half of the sentence away.
It says
I'm only
until heaven and earth pass away. Heaven and earth
sorry.
hasn't passed away.
Sorry, just give me 1 minute, please. I just want to leave. I'm just distracted here. Please, just a minute. I'm not off. Just a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, you're all right. You're good. You're good. It wasn't all accomplished because heaven and earth hasn't passed away. It's literally what Jesus is saying here. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one letter, not one stroke of a letter will pass from the law until all is accomplished. Therefore, whoever breaks one of the least of these commands and teaches others to do the same will be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever
I,
does them and teaches
I,
them will be called great in the kingdom
I,
of heaven. For I tell you,
okay.
unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and the Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven.
Okay. So let me
Yeah,
come
so
in a bit.
Jesus is
Yeah.
saying if you don't keep these commands and these laws, you're not going to heaven.
So let me finish. So when you were saying, "Until heaven and earth pass away," Betty, I'm busy, please. When he says, "Until heaven and earth pass away," let me let you understand that theologically, from what I know of in Jewish teachings, when you use a phrase like "until heaven and earth pass away," it conveys something extremely certain and unchangeable. But in our own understanding as Christians, what we understand is that Jesus was saying that not even the smallest part of God's law will fail until the purpose is completed. Now, he now
Yep.
goes forward to say, what he now goes forward to say, and he immediately clarifies with the phrase that until everything is accomplished. So that correlation is what I
And
just explained
everything
to you.
isn't accomplished until heaven and earth pass away. This doesn't
No,
say
so
anything about Jesus
so
dying.
no
Jesus
no no
doesn't
no
say,
no
I'm
no
going
no
to
no
die and all this
no
is
no no hold on
accomplished. He
hold on
doesn't
no,
say
hold
that
on
once.
no no hold on. So when he says, the speaker was he narrowed down what he was saying when he says until all is accomplished. Now,
Yeah,
when
I know.
Christians understand the law, when they say when we say we understand the law, we understand that when he said that, he was pointing forward to these key three things I'm going to mention to you, that the Messiah, the sacrificial system, and also the new covenant. So now, if you check a scripture where it says Romans 10 verse 4, and I would like you to open it where you are there so we can look at the explanation of this same chapter, that this same
No, no,
verse
no.
you
That's
read.
Paul. That's not Jesus. I
No,
can
no, no,
tell you,
no.
Paul says the law it was abolished when Jesus died. I know Paul said that. The problem is, Jesus says the exact opposite. Jesus never says nothing about everything's fulfilled when he dies. That's what Paul
No.
says, not Jesus.
But
Jesus
but but
says
you
all
know,
is not
but you
fulfilled
know,
until heaven
but
and earth pass away.
okay. So if you reject, let's say you reject what Paul says, do you also reject Jesus calling himself the Passover or attributing himself to be the Passover? Do you reject him saying that?
Yeah, I reject that. The Passover is an actual recurring thing.
No, 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 no. I'm asking you, do you reject Jesus calling himself the Passover?
Yeah,
Why do you reject that?
because they never said that.
No, no, no. He called himself that.
So
He said, "Drink my flesh, eat my blood." He said, "This is the new covenant." He called it the new
yeah, and
covenant.
that's not what
He
the new
called his flesh and
covenant
blood.
is.
What do you say?
You don't need Jesus for the new covenant.
No, 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 no. Hold on. I'm not asking you if we need him or not. I'm saying if you disagree with
Well, you asked
Paul
me if I
saying
reject
that
it, and
Jesus
I'm
is
saying,
this,
yeah, I reject it.
then
But either
if you
way,
reject his word,
but I
if
can't
you
take
reject him,
Paul's word over Jesus's word, though. If Jesus says something, that's the way it is, because Jesus is supposedly the Messiah of this book. Paul is not. He
yes,
never even met
yeah, yeah.
Jesus,
So,
and
so
he's
that's
saying
why I
the
said. That's
exact
why I said.
opposite of what Jesus is saying.
No, no, no. So what I'm saying is, okay, don't worry.
Yeah.
Let's not go to Paul. Okay, let's leave Paul out of it. But Jesus said, I. He called himself the Lamb of God, the Passover, the one who his blood and flesh will redeem mankind. Do you reject what he said?
Yeah. I reject
So why?
Jesus overall as a Messiah or a prophet or anything else. He's
So
clearly
if
a
you
failure
reject
and a
him,
fraud.
so if you accept a part of his word and reject a part of his word, don't you think that is unfair to him?
No, I'm just using his words, and they're
No.
not
So
true.
if
They
you
can't be.
use it, okay. So if you do not believe his words are true, how do we now explain him to you if you reject his
Well, in
words?
this particular case, I can grant you that his words are true, but in this case, Jesus is just saying you have to keep the law, and
Okay.
that's
So
clear.
if
He's
you
clearly saying you have to keep the law.
so I'm saying to you that when Jesus said everything will be accomplished in him, and I gave you where he said he is a
He
Passover,
doesn't
you
say
said you
everything will be
reject it.
accomplished in him. He doesn't
No,
say
no, no,
that.
no. No, no. So I was trying to use when Jesus was at the table and he said that he is the Passover. You said you reject it. If you reject that claim that he made about himself, automatically you reject the claim that he came to bring the new life as a Passover. And that defeats the
Yeah, I do
point of
reject that,
saying, is he
and because
God?
he never said that, and what we read, he doesn't say anything like what you're saying. He says,
No, no, no,
"Until
no.
heaven and earth pass away, all is not accomplished. Heaven and earth has to be passed away for this to be
No,
accomplished,
I
according to
just
Jesus."
explained. No, I just explained to you, and this was a very key part of that explanation. I said to you that in Jewish teaching, and take this from a person who
Yeah, Jews don't
theologically
accept
we've gone.
Jesus.
No, 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 no. I'm saying the phrases. I'm not saying Jesus. I'm saying the phrases.
No.
When they use phrases like "until heaven and earth pass away," they were often mean. They were used to mean something extremely certain and unchangeable. But when Jesus quoted it, he was saying, and I will say that again, he said, not even the smallest part of God's law will fail until his purpose is
Yeah.
completed. So when he now said that, he
And he's telling you
immediately
when the purpose is completed here.
hold on,
That's
hold
what
on,
you're
hold on.
not
He clarified.
acknowledging.
No, 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 no. You're also not acknowledging. Hold on, my friend. You're also not acknowledging the part where he said, until everything is accomplished. Now,
Yes, I
when
am.
it's
I'm acknowledging everything he's saying, and
yes,
you are
so
not. I'm trying to say you have to include the other words there in
yes, so
that.
what I'm
All
yes,
is
yes.
not accomplished until heaven and earth pass away. It's in the
I
same
I I
sentence, but you will
I
not
I
address that
know.
part.
I know. No, no. Hold on. Hold on. So when Jesus said, "Until heaven and earth pass away," he was basically emphasizing that God's law will not fail or disappear before His
Until
purpose was
when?
fulfilled. So
And
now
when does
the
that?
law. No, no, no. Yeah, I'm coming. I'm coming. So the
Uh,
law remains actually valid until everything. Now this is key for you. Until everything is
this
pointed
is key for
to
you.
it
I
being
don't accept
accomplished.
this.
No, 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 no.
Yeah.
If you don't accept it, no. Look. I'm not going to force you to accept it. I promise. I'm not
I'm
trying to
not
force
keeping
you
this
along
laws.
with it.
Even if I believed in Jesus and if I was a Christian right now and somebody pointed out to me that I have to keep God's laws to get to heaven, I would say, screw it. I'm done. I'm not keeping those
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
laws.
So let me now the beauty of salvation is this. So when Jesus came and he offered himself as the ultimate sacrifice so that we don't have to keep renewing sacrifice, Bible says that every part of God's law was fulfilled in him. And what that means is that you wouldn't need to go slaughtering
Show me where it
animals to
says
have.
that. Show me
So
where Jesus says that.
what Jesus said.
Where Jesus says, when I die, the law is going to go away.
So I just asked you a question, and that's key to explaining that. Do you believe that he is the Passover?
No.
So if you don't believe he is the Passover, let me tell you what that does to the argument.
Why would I think he
Because,
is a Passover that happened over 1,000 years before Jesus was born?
sorry, come again.
Why would I think Jesus is something that had been around for over 1,000 years before he was even born?
Yeah, so what I'm saying to you is that if he introduced himself as that, I think we owe him the respect to believe that he is that. Don't you think so?
He's not that, and he never claimed to be that, not once. You're
No, no, he
quoting
did. He
Paul,
did.
not Jesus.
No, no, no,
No,
no,
he
no, no,
didn't.
no. I said to you, no, I said to you, my friend, I said to you that he said at the table where he was having the Last
I
Supper
know.
with his disciples,
Yeah.
he mentioned, he said, look, this is my blood, which is shed for you. He said, my flesh. He took the bread, he said, and this is my flesh, which was
I know. We
also
all know the
given.
story. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So if he introduced himself as that and you reject that of him, then you
Because
couldn't
it
accept.
contradicts other stuff. It
No,
contradicts
no, no.
God. It contradicts Jesus' own words. But it doesn't contradict Paul, a guy who never met Jesus.
No,
That's
no,
what
no.
Paul
So are you
says.
saying no, no? Are you saying Jesus' word contradicts himself?
Yeah.
How?
Especially if he's God. That just makes it even worse.
No, 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 no. How does it make it worse?
It makes it worse because God says clearly that the law is forever. He tells the Israelites, keeping these laws is what's doing good and right in my sight. If you keep these laws, you will be happy all the days that you live on the earth. And all the days that you live on the earth means all the days that you live on the earth. It doesn't mean temporarily. So it's a contradiction to say the law ever goes away according to Jesus or God. That only comes from Paul. That's it.
Okay, so well, we could still go through this over and over again, but when I
Yeah, I
tell
know,
you
because you
when
want
I
to address the actual words.
no, 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 I'm not changing the actual words. I'm only saying to you
Yes, you
that
are.
if you
If
cannot
you
if you
think the
cannot
law went away, then you're changing the words.
okay, okay, so let me ask you a question. Do you believe in the Mount of Transfiguration? Do you believe that?
And what?
In the Mount of Transfiguration, you know the experience where Jesus was on the
Oh
mountain,
no,
then
that's a bunch. No,
Moses.
it's a bunch of nonsense. No, certainly not.
Oh, okay. Let me say this to you. I know that for you to have been a Christian and been baptized, and that was why I asked you what was your Christian story. That's why I said to you, if you look at Jesus from the eyes of religion, you would get a lot of things mixed up. And you know why? Religion is flawed, right? Religion
Yeah,
has a lot of flaws.
especially this one.
But
Yeah,
no, no, no. But if you look at Jesus through the eyes of relationship with Him, religion can never. His walk with you and His relationship with you cannot be flawed. You know why? He speaks to His own always. And I can boldly say to you, and it may sound nuts to anybody who is listening, but I can say one thing to you.
he never
For
talked to me.
everyone, okay. So let me say something to you. If you say to Jesus, and I tell you he doesn't mind, I kid you not, this thing I'm about to say, he doesn't mind. If you say to Jesus that everything I've heard of you doesn't make sense, your word contradicts, this happens, and this happens, could you come and show me who yourself is on your own? And you expect
Well,
him
I
to
don't
do
need
it.
him to show me. I
Think
can just
not,
read
he
his
will do
book
it.
here. It's clear
What
who
do you
he
say?
is. I said I don't need to meet him. I can just read his book here. I've read his book most of my life, and it's
Oh
pretty
no.
clear
Okay,
who
okay,
he
my
is.
friend. You know what? You know what? I'm gonna follow you. I followed you already. This is what I'm gonna
Okay.
do because I'm at work, so it's a little bit difficult. Yeah. So this is what I'm gonna do. I will definitely. It will be a pleasure for me to come on your live to always speak with you because I see you as someone who wanted to really know him before Jesus, that is, but some things happen along your journey. I will be glad to pray along with you and speak to you and answer your questions 100%. Even if it takes 5 years, I'm willing to do that. I will speak with you. And thank you for inviting me to your life. I appreciate you so much. Okay.
Oh,
I
no
would
problem.
definitely come back. Okay. Thank you so much.
Oh,
I have
sounds
to go
good.
now.
Yeah, have a good
Thank
one,
you, bro.
buddy.
You too. You too.
No problem. All right. Well, let's see. Oh, I thought we had another one. I guess not. Peavy, unless I'm getting lagged. Anyway, Christians or Hebrew Israelite, request on up. Yeah, long story short, You have to keep the law, or you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. That's why Jesus said, few will enter the kingdom of heaven. The path is wide, but the gate is narrow, and few will enter. You know why? Because few are actually capable of keeping this law. Jesus says, not everyone who calls on my name is going to enter heaven. In fact, few will enter heaven. Paul says, anybody who calls on Jesus' name will be saved, because all you got to do is believe. All you got to do is believe it. There's going to be a whole bunch of people in heaven because a whole bunch of people believe it. No, it can't be right, can it? Yeah. Yeah, we talk to him sometime. Every now and then. Yep. Some of them aren't like as racist as most of them are, I guess. They're all right. Anyway, if you are a Christian or a Hebrew Israelite and you want to talk to us about one of these topics, we would love to talk to you. We love highly contentious but civil debates. Over here is how we like to roll. That's how we like to roll. So, let's see if we can get a good old debate in here before they have to go on off to church. Still got like a hour and a half, something like that. So we can roll on as long as the conversations are coming on in. It's always a little hit and miss on Saturday and Sunday. Usually Sundays are kind of decent though if you get somebody in here to talk to. That's another kind of funny thing, I guess, about this whole law thing here is that to a Christian, fulfill does mean abolish. It means the exact same thing, but that's ludicrous because you would essentially be rereading this sentence or restructuring this sentence to say, do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish, but to abolish. Like, that's literally how you have to read that as a Christian, which is absolutely insane. Because fulfill does not mean abolish. Fulfill does not mean went away. Unfortunately for the Christians. Not to mention the problems are way worse than that anyway. Let me get to Jesus on slavery insights here anyway. I'm sure that won't come up. Anyway, Christians, Hebrew Israelites, come on and talk at us. You got a request up if you want to talk. You're not in the, I don't see you in the queue if you're in the queue, if that's what you meant, or what you mean, or whatever. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Christians do that. And again, you kind of have to do that, or else you're not. You kind of have to do that. If I was a Christian, I would probably do that too. As a Christian, I probably did do that. Good morning, Patrina. What's up? What it is, other apes? What's going on? Welcome in to the greatest of the great ape master debates. What's up? Yeah, if you are a Christian or a Hebrew Israelite, request on up and have a conversation with us. The queue is wide open. There is no wait at the moment. That last guy, we talked to the last guy for like 15 or 20 minutes. So. Interesting. Anyway, come on in, come on through, guys. We've only been going about a half an hour, so the algorithm's just now getting juiced up. Getting a little movie along here, so we'll probably get somebody to talk to. I would think so. I feel like this is actually still not favoring me like I used to say all the time, but I do feel like it's somewhat getting a little more back to normal. Perhaps the claps. I don't know why I said that. Just rhymed and sounded good. So I think said I had somebody, but I don't see nothing. Anyway, Christians or Hebrew Israelites, come on up. My brother and Sebastian, what up, dog? My brother in this fake ass Messiah, what's up? We'll start a fake religion. We'll call it fake Jesus religion. That's right. I'm taking tithes now in the form of gifts. Give me a dinosaur gift for my gold up here, and the raptor god will bless you, and he will do it soon too. You won't even have to wait that long. Maybe even almost as soon as you take your finger off the button. Soon as I have the money, you can be blessed. That quick is how fast it could happen. I get my own connection and experience to show me Jesus Christ to be the Lord. Oh, here we go. The sun is real. And I actually like the sun. I just don't like looking at it. Unless I have a solar lens, then it looks really cool. All right, a servant of valor. Maybe we got somebody here. Hey, Valor, you there?
Yeah, what's up, my man?
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Man.
Are you over 18?
Yes, sir.
Awesome, awesome. Are you one of the Christians or Hebrew Israelites?
Yes, brother. I'm a professing believer in Jesus Christ. Yes, sir.
Okay, cool, man. So which one of these topics you want to talk about today?
I'm interested in you, bro. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I want to know
I'm an
why.
interesting person.
Yeah, I like that. Man, why don't you believe in Jesus, bro?
Oh, because he's a false prophet, because he doesn't know his own Bible, because he allows slavery, he doesn't actually fulfill any of the prophecies. The Bible just has too many problems to be trusted.
That is, man, that's a lot. That's a lot of things to tackle.
And I mean, if we had to cover every problem that I have, we would literally sit here for the next month and a half straight, probably.
Okay. What's the most prevailing one for you?
Probably that Jesus doesn't actually fulfill any of the prophecies. His name doesn't even match his title. Christ means Christ. The word Christ is a Greek translation of the word Messiah, which is Hebrew, which means the anointed one. The problem is Jesus was never even anointed, so he doesn't even deserve the title Christ.
What do you mean?
Christ isn't even special.
What do you mean he wasn't anointed?
He never got anointed. He was never an anointed king or priest. So, I mean, the title Christ means nothing because he was never actually even anointed. That's what Christ means. It means an anointed one. Same as Mashiach. Almost same.
So even in the story of the nativity, you don't think that was anointed for them to offer him gifts? It was a recognizing of kingship?
Well, he was never a king. You have to be anointed to be an actual king or a priest. That's what the word anointed in Hebrew literally means, to smear oil. That means you have the oil smeared on your head, and you do the like the purification rites and prophecies and stuff like that for an anointed king. But Jesus was never a king, and he wasn't from the line of David either, unfortunately.
Why do you think he wasn't from the line of David?
Because Matthew and Luke are the only two genealogies given by the Gospels, and neither one of them, Joseph doesn't even consummate the marriage until after Jesus is born. So, I mean, if the genealogies are going from Joseph to David, then it makes no sense that Jesus is related to David through Joseph, because Joseph isn't his father.
You know what's interesting? I thought the genealogy, the lineage of David was through Mary, not through Joseph, right?
No, it only goes through Joseph.
Sure?
Yeah, I'm positive.
Okay.
The Bible don't go through females for genealogies. It don't work like that.
But it gives Mary's genealogy, right?
No. Why would you say that? Where does it give Mary's genealogy?
Thought it did. Thought it was saying Mary had a genealogy connection through Joseph. That's what I thought.
No. If you're talking about Luke chapter 3, it doesn't say that. It says Jesus was about 30 years old when he began his work. He was the son, as was thought, of Joseph, son of Heli, son of Matthew, son of Levi, son of Malachi. So, I mean, it says Joseph. It doesn't say Mary. That's Joseph's lineage.
Okay. So
But it even says that he didn't consummate the marriage until after Jesus was born.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a true statement. He didn't. I don't know. Kind of weird to me because if I adopt a child and I say this is my child, that becomes my son, right? Even though it's not by even though it's not genetic, the child doesn't genetically belong to me.
Yes, that's true. You can adopt a son. The problem is that the prophecies from the Old Testament, God promised David that all kings of Israel would come from his body, from his genetics, from his loins, like literally from his nutsack, for lack of a better term there. Actually, I got a better term. That was just fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, you have to come from the genetics of David to be this promised Messiah from the Old Testament. So Jesus cannot be that person if he is not related to David genetically. Like, you have to come from David's body, is what God promised him. You can't adopt.
Is that what
genetics.
It said?
Yeah.
It said it says every king will come from his loins.
Yeah. Yeah, he promises David that every king will come from his loins, from his body.
Can you read that to me? Because now I just need to know. I need to know that for my information.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay.
Let me, there's a couple of them that say it, but I would rather find the one that uses the most straightforward wording. Yeah, so in 2 Samuel 7, he says, I will raise up your offspring to succeed you, your own flesh and your own blood. 2 Samuel 7:16, it says, your house and kingdom will endure forever before me, your throne will be established forever. Psalm 132, the Lord swore an oath to David, a promise that he will not revoke one of your descendants to sit on the throne. So it has to be a descendant of David. So let's see, 2 Samuel, wait, nope, that was in 1 Samuel. It's not Revelation. Yeah, and Jeremiah says he's going to raise a righteous branch from the line of David, from the stump of Jesse. They're saying the same thing. The 2 Samuel, wait, that's the same one. Where in the world is the... What did I type there? Second Samuel 7. All right, verse 12. All right, so when your days are fulfilled and you lie down with your ancestors, I will raise up your offspring after you, who shall come forth from your body, and I will establish his kingdom. He shall build a house for my name and will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. So he's literally telling David that every king after him will come from his body.
Well, only his come from his body that can only be a seed, right? That could only be like Solomon.
Yeah.
Solomon
Yeah,
is the only one that could really come from his body. Everything,
right.
Whoever comes after Solomon is a product of Solomon, right?
Yeah, that's why they're trying to relate Jesus to David, because to be this Messiah, you have to be related to David. That's why it's given genealogies trying to uh, get Jesus to David. The
Right,
problem is Matthew, especially, really poo-poos this because he can't even count. He gets the number of generations wrong, and he goes through Jeconiah. And if you can't go through Jeconiah because the line of Jeconiah is cursed in Jeremiah 22 verse 30, I think. So Matthew gives a bogus genealogy.
I mean, I guess I haven't looked that deep. I can't speak to that. I ain't gonna lie to you. I haven't looked that deep. I've looked at the genealogy and I'm just like, okay, if Jesus is the son of God and he comes from God, then everything comes from him. It would be from his own body. But that's my thoughts about it. That doesn't mean that I'm ultimately right. But I would like to I asked you about the one that prevails the most to you, but I want to answer the he fulfills zero prophecies. I don't
Yeah.
think that's a fair statement. Have you ever read Psalm 72?
Read what?
Psalm 72.
Psalm 7. I mean, I've read it at some point. I've never heard anybody. This is the first time I'm hearing that a psalm is a prophecy Jesus is fulfilling, but let's get to it.
It's from the Psalm when he talks about my they have ripped my clothes and cast lots for my clothing, or when he
Oh, that's
says
Psalm
he who
22.
yeah, or when he says he who shared my bread has lifted up his heel against me as a prophecy to David wrote that, but then it said that it's fulfilled when you see Judas betraying Jesus. Like he
Yeah,
gave
this
him the
Psalm
bread.
22 is not a prophecy, though. That's just David. David asked him to God to help him. He's surrounded by enemies here in this psalm.
Right. Right. And
Yeah,
so
it's
they're
not a
saying
prophecy.
well, it's divinely inspired. And I guess if
Well,
you look at
you can
Psalm
make that argument
72,
for anything in the Bible, but it doesn't
okay,
mean it's a prophecy about
true,
Jesus.
true. So right. So the Psalm I said specifically is 72. 72.
Yeah, but you quoted 22.
Yeah, what I was saying that they said that about that one. That
All right, prayer for guidance and support for the King Solomon. So, which part of this is about Jesus? Oh, we swapped away from the app there. Good morning, no degree. Got you muted up for just a second. Welcome back, though. Uh,
oh,
oh, there he is. Just kept away there. I see you, Patrina. Just a second. Oh my
okay.
freaking god! Is my thumb not touching this damn screen? Like, good lord! Hit accept like 800 times. All right, sorry, bud. Go ahead there. Oh no, he's ticked again. Good morning, Patrina.
Good morning.
Hello, hello. Uh, I guess he's looking something up there. How are you, Mister No Degree?
I'm doing wonderful. Um, I was just coming up since y'all were talking about the genealogy of Jesus and see if you had heard this a particular view on this that would resolve all of this. So I was just
Sure.
um, well, essentially, since it you're correct, it would be from the seed of David biologically, but also the kingship of David. So God ends up accomplishing the seed of David through Mary's line and the kingship of David through Joseph's line, which would have been through Solomon. So, because as you were saying, it talks about the curse of one of the kings, so God bypasses the curse by bringing it genetically through Mary's line, but the kingship through Solomon's line. So there's no contradiction there. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, but unfortunately, there's no verse anywhere in the Bible that gives Mary's line.
Well, what they say is Matthew is or Luke is the genealogy of Mary because it goes through Nathan, not through Solomon.
Yeah, but it never says that's Mary's genealogy. It says it's Joseph.
Well, yeah, apparently it would be common when you talk about it. It would have just been kind of talking about household. So it'd been Joseph's household. Doesn't mention Mary. I agree it doesn't mention Mary, but that's what people think is going on here because
Well, you have to think that to try to fix it, but it doesn't say it's Mary. I have no reason
well,
at all to think this is Mary's genealogy. The Bible never goes through women for genealogies.
but
It
if
doesn't
it,
work like that.
well, correct, and if that's the case, it would have mentioned Joseph as the head of household. So, but it would have still been Mary's line. So, because it says, as supposed in the book of Luke, Joseph, Jesus' father, as supposed, is kind of in parentheses there, implying, I guess, an adoption or something. Um, so there does seem to be indication there that this is not specifically, doesn't necessarily have to be specifically through Joseph's lineage, but rather through Mary's, and then that Matthew is giving the kingship line through Joseph, following the Solomon lineage.
Right.
So I didn't know
Well,
if
I
you
mean,
that would resolve the
well,
issue, don't you think? In fact, it would resolve it in almost like a supernatural way because it would have been something that we probably wouldn't have really thought of on our own.
yeah, I mean, you can solve anything with magic, but I mean, like I said, I have no reason to think this is about Mary's genealogy. Like the Bible doesn't give genealogies through women; it just don't.
Well, if you believe that the Bible is the divine inspired word of God, then that would be really your most reasonable option, don't you think? Instead of saying, well, it was just a mess up, this would easily resolve it and resolve
Well,
it in
I
a
mean, I
way
just see a
that
mess
we
up. I
would.
don't believe this is divinely inspired because of mess
Okay.
ups like this. If it was divinely inspired, you shouldn't have problems like this.
Well, I'm saying that it wouldn't be a problem. That's the whole point. Like if
Oh,
you like, for me, it's not a problem. In fact, I marvel at how brilliant God was working behind the scenes here, to where He brought the biological line of Jesus through David, through the mother, and the kingship line
well,
through Solomon.
well, even if Luke was right, Matthew still can't be right. So at least Matthew isn't divinely inspired.
Well, I mean, admittedly, as far as like what you're saying, as far as Matthew getting the other stuff wrong, I'm always skeptical of that because usually every time I've heard people say Matthew got this wrong, Matthew got that wrong, and I've done a little bit of research, or so one of them got it wrong. I've never found it to be the case that they got it wrong. In fact, there's usually a deeper understanding that is brought out by studying this.
Oh. Well, Matthew got it wrong because you can't go through Jeconiah to have a descendant of
Well,
David sitting
you
on the
could
throne of
just
Israel.
you could by the royal kingship, but not by the genetics, the bloodline, and that's the point.
No, it
Jesus
says in
still is
Jeremiah, it
heir to
says
the
none of
throne.
Jeconiah's descendants will ever sit on the throne again. So if you go through
Correct.
Jeconiah, you can't even get to a kingship line of David
But what I'm saying
through
is
to
that
Jesus.
Jesus would be kingly heir to the throne through David, genetically heir through the throne through David's or through Mary to David. So I'm saying that both of these lines, if you look at it that way, because of the one going through Nathan and one going through Solomon, this would resolve any issues there. And actually, theologians and stuff who are Christians believe this is like so deep at they're in awe at how God pulled this off. So so if you're a Christian who has looked into this and studied it, then it's going to make you be more in awe of Scripture because you believe that God didn't get it wrong, that this is what He did, and this is a reasonable explanation. So it actually would strengthen one's person's confidence in Scripture.
I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed, honestly. Like, I think only religion could turn a contradiction into a deeper meaning for the believers. Like, that's the wildest thing I've ever heard.
Well,
I agree.
there's actually a father, I forget,
God is so
I don't know if
great.
he's
This
considered.
contradiction is so deep. It just
Well, there's
strengthens our
actually,
faith.
this is not really anything out in order because if you see what seems to be a contradiction in the Bible, then it is viewed as, okay, then physical contradictions are, cannot exist. So there must be some sort of deeper spiritual message here. So that is the way a lot of people look at that who are on the Christian side. That's not really an unusual view, even though you may think it's unreasonable. That's how a lot of people like myself would kind of view that. But
Well,
so
I mean, I
far, I
can buy
haven't
that. I
seen,
can, yeah, I mean, I
yeah.
believe you. I don't have any reason
And
to
and
think you're
also,
lying or nothing, but I mean, I just see a irreconcilable problem here. You can't go through Jeconiah to get a king in Jesus, and Jesus was never even a king. He gets the numbers wrong on the genealogy. Like, this isn't fixable to me. Like, there's nothing
who
profound here.
are you
It's just
talking
a
about?
problem.
Matthew gets the numbers wrong, or who?
Yeah, Matthew.
Okay, well, I know that I've heard that before, and I remember reading apologetic responses to it. I just can't remember what they were, so maybe I could go back and look at that. But I do know that there's responses out there for it. But have you ever heard of the term in philosophy called, well, there's a couple of things, the principle of charity, and when it's talking about claimed contradictions, have you ever heard, like dealing with, say, the logical problem of evil? Philosophers will point this out, say, okay, if there can be some sort of logical resolution for it, even though, you might not have access to that, but if that's logically possible, then to claim it's a contradiction would put too much burden on the person claiming it's a contradiction. They could never prove it. For example, like this right here, to say that, okay, this is obviously a contradiction, it can't be resolved, it's necessarily a contradiction, would mean that there's no other logical possible resolutions. And if you're saying that, then you would have to be able to demonstrate that there's no other logical possible resolutions. If someone were to come up and say, okay, is this possibly possible logically, like what I just did here, then if in order for them to say no to that, then they're going to have to prove that that's not logically possible. So what it ends up doing is placing, it puts a too heavy of a burden on the atheist that they can't shoulder at that point. And that's kind of how it
I could
works in
definitely
philosophy
shoulder
when they're
that.
trying to
It's
deal
not
with
even hard.
these. Well, I know you think it is, but obviously I would say that this is going through two different,
Well, here, just
the
let me ask
Mary
you:
and
was the
Joseph.
line of Jeconiah cursed or not?
Sure? Yeah.
Was the line of Jeconiah was cursed, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how do you fix that?
But well, you would fix it in going through Nathan instead of Solomon.
No, it goes through Jeconiah. That's the problem here.
Okay, but I'm talking about the two different lines.
Well, I'm talking about the line of Jeconiah. How do you fix that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it would still be the case that Jesus, it would be in the line of Jesus as far as the kingship. But as far as what Jesus says, his kingdom is no longer, his kingdom is not of this world, but it's God. So it's not, I mean, I'm just saying that there would be a deeper understanding here than just simply saying, oh, well, there's a curse, so therefore Jesus could not be uh, the
Yeah,
king.
so God cursed the line of Jeconiah. He says, I'm
Hmm.
pissed at you. I'm punishing you. None of your descendants will ever sit on the throne. Matthew says
Hmm.
Jesus is a descendant of Jeconiah. How can you
Yes.
possibly logically fix that problem?
Well, I mean, I guess you just have to say at that point, then the Jews can't ever have a Messiah and ever have a king like that.
Well,
But
not through
there, it
Jeconiah.
well, it couldn't be through. I mean, then it wouldn't be through anyone, right? So I guess then you'd have to ask. I would be interested to see what a Jewish person would say about that.
Well, the only way you could logically fix this is if there were scripture that came back and said, "Hey, never mind, I forgive you," and lift the curse. That's the only way to fix this. But otherwise, you can't go through Jeconiah because he's cursed.
Okay, well, I mean, I know that Jewish people like Rabbi Hannah and stuff are still waiting on the Messiah, and that they think that this is going to happen. So I don't know. Maybe if you think that it's impossible to fix it at that point, say I don't see that it's impossible because I see that Jesus just simply went through the line of Mary and through
Well,
Nathan, not
that's a different
Solomon.
line. You're fixing it by changing the line. Like, you can fix it that way,
But it
but
doesn't
I'm
say
telling
that
you
that.
to fix Jeconiah. You can't fix Jeconiah.
Okay, but if Joseph, if Mary is if Jesus is born of a virgin, then Jesus isn't part of the cursed line. That's the point.
I know,
He
and
can't
Luke
be
he's
cursed.
not. Luke doesn't mention Jeremiah. Luke doesn't have this problem. I'm talking about Matthew. Matthew gives the genealogy
Yeah,
through Jeconiah, and that line is cursed. So
but
Matthew, at
it's
minimum here, is rendered invalid.
it would be cursed based on what, genetically?
Yeah. It was based on the
Okay,
fact that
so
Jeconiah was
but
a prophet
Jesus
killer, and God said, none of your descendants will ever sit on the throne ever again.
and Jesus was born of a virgin, so he doesn't have that issue, right? That's the point. But he still has
Why
that.
did he
And
include
Luke,
Jeconiah? Why did he include Jeconiah?
Who? Matthew?
Matthew,
To
yeah.
Yeah.
show the royal Jewish line of kingship of Jesus.
Which is cursed.
Yeah, but it's not. But you're talking about you will never have. Say that quote again. You will never have
None
anyone
of your
from
descendants will sit on the
your
throne ever
descendant. Yeah,
again.
Jesus isn't a descendant of him. He's a descendant through Nathan,
Then
and he's
then
born of
why
a
did
virgin,
they
so he
then why
doesn't
did they
have
list
Joseph's genetics.
then why did they list Jeconiah? If Jeconiah is listed at all, then there's that curse
Because I think
included.
I think Matthew is just showing the Jewishness of Jesus here.
The
The
genealogy, it
Jewishness of
doesn't take
Yeah, the
away from the
genealogy.
fact.
Yeah,
It doesn't take away the fact that the genealogy of Joseph.
yeah. So I
Because
mean, it's
this
Then Joseph would
Matthew,
have
they're
been the
doing the
rightful heir
same
to the
things.
throne.
This is just, it doesn't say this is a special kind of genealogy. This is the only kind of genealogy. Matthew starts, literally the first sentence in Matthew says, an account of the genealogy of Jesus the Messiah, the son of David, the son of
hmm
Abraham. This is just a
hmm
genealogy for David, the same as Luke. And he goes
yeah,
through Jeconiah.
but it
You
goes through
can't go through
this.
Jeconiah. This entire line here is rendered invalid in verse 12 because Jeconiah is
I
cursed.
disagree
He should have
because it's
removed it and put something else in there.
Well,
well,
even
it
having
says,
the
and
genealogy of Joseph is invalid because Joseph is not Jesus's dad.
well,
So,
Yeah, I mean that's
Luke actually kind of alludes to that when he says Joseph, and it has in parentheses supposed father of Jesus, meaning that there's, because he's not saying that he's genetically the father of Jesus. He's giving him the
right,
father, but see, that's my whole point here. The curse, the reason why the curse does not affect Jesus is he's born of a virgin,
right. But if you was
and
to look up a
but
genealogy
Mary
today, like
completes
if I
it
was to look
completed
up
through Mary's line.
my genealogy, if I was adopted or a stepchild, right, I wouldn't have my step parents or my adoptive parents on my genealogy. It would be only the blood. My blood relatives would be on my
Okay, well,
genealogy.
yeah, but Jesus is born of a virgin, so Mary would have been the only one whose blood,
But we
and that
don't
goes
have
through
Marys.
Nathan, well, I believe Luke is that genealogy, and that goes through Nathan, which
why do you
bypasses
believe that?
the curse. Well, I just think that that's the most reasonable resolution to this because I
But it's
believe that the
not
Bible is
reasonable because it doesn't say
infallible.
Mary. It says explicitly this is
I know, but
Joseph's lineage.
what I'm saying is there's scholars and experts who would say that this is not uncommon to attribute this to Joseph because he's the head of the house. This was just commonly done in those days.
That's because
Now,
it doesn't go through
admittedly,
women to give
I'm not a
genealogies.
scholar,
That's
so I
non-existent.
haven't
It
looked
doesn't
into that.
happen.
Okay, well, according to them, it did happen. That's how they would
Well,
label
it
it. So,
didn't. According to the words, it didn't.
well, you would admit that if you read the two genealogies, when it gets to David, one goes through Nathan and one goes through Solomon, right? It branches two different
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what it says.
So
Yeah. Yeah, I can go
so
with what it says.
to me, the most reasonable thing is rather than to think that um, uh, Luke made a mistake because there's been people like Sir William Ramsey and others who have tried to disprove Luke and actually ended up saying he's one of the best historians ever. Wouldn't it be reasonable to think that Luke is just using the genealogy of Mary at that point?
No, because it doesn't say Mary. It says Joseph.
Okay, well, look, I mean,
There's
but
no
what
hint in this chapter that says this is Mary's
what
genealogy. Like
do
nothing
you
even suggests that. That's completely added on top of it by like
do
theology.
you always have that standard towards all scripture?
Well, I mean, it says Joseph, so I have the standard. If it says this is Joseph's lineage, then I'm taking it as Joseph's lineage. If it even suggested this might be about Mary somehow, I would be more open to it. But it says Joseph, like it straight up says it.
Okay, so yeah, what I'm asking is that like when you study the Bible, do you always read it that way? Because you know
Yeah, I
with
read it
prophecy,
contextually. Like context is actually important to me. Yeah.
okay, so you know in the Bible where where um Miriam and Aaron and the Jewish people are challenging Moses' authority and saying, who does he think he is? You remember that? And they try to challenge him, and then God is on Moses' side, and God tells them that he does not speak to Moses as he does with prophets in riddles and figures of speech, but he speaks to him as one face to face. And then he punishes them for, disbelieving Moses. Um, so he specifically says, though, that when God speaks to prophets, he speaks in figures of speech, parables, riddles, whatever. So wouldn't it be reasonable that when you're seeing some of these prophecies, that there may be more to it than just simply what it's saying?
I don't think so.
Okay,
Can I
well,
Prophecies have to be
can
specific and testable, according to God in Deuteronomy
okay, but
18.
can
Isaiah
I
You have to be able
53
to
is
test for a
specific.
prophet
hey,
to know if they're legit or not.
can
Are
I
you
ask you a
saying they're
question real
coded?
quick?
These are coded prophecies.
Can
Yes,
I
I think a
interrupt?
lot of them are coded.
Can I interrupt real quick? Apostle, I just gotta ask you a question.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, go ahead, man.
You did you used to be a Christian?
Yeah, I was a Christian over 20 years.
You Christian, like Holy Spirit filled Christian.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I've
No, I'm
spoken in
sorry. Sorry to
tongues
interrupt.
on
I just had.
many occasions. No, you're okay. You were the one that got cut off. You can technically say, address whatever you want.
Yeah. But you said you was filled with the Holy Spirit, Christian, believer.
Well, I mean, I thought I was. Turns out I was probably just caught up in the moment.
What made you think you
Weren't what?
weren't filled with the Holy Spirit?
I thought I was filled with the Holy Spirit, but it turns out if all this is false, then I couldn't have been filled with the Holy Spirit because there is no Holy Spirit to be filled by. So I have to reevaluate what actually happened there.
Okay, I get that. But what made you think that in the first place? What was the first step to you being like, oh, maybe this isn't what really happened?
Oh,
I'm just
just
curious.
actually questioning just stuff not adding up,
What was the first thing? If you can give me anything, what was like the first thing?
I guess the very first thing that was out of place for me was that I've always been like, ever since I was a kid, I've been obsessed with history, right? And I remember reading about Sumeria when I was really young, and I was seeing in that history and recognizing some of the parallels in these stories. So, like, to me, one of the first things I noticed is, like, why is this way older stuff having parallel stories to what I know as a Christian? Like for example, if you start reading about Sumeria, one of the first things you'll read about is a guy named Sargon the Great. He was the first known conqueror in history. But anyway, it's given his birth narrative in the cuneiform tablets, and it says his mother put him in a basket and floated him down a river because his village was attacked. And later on, he was found and raised by like royalty and elites and stuff like that, and then leads a
Yes.
rebellion and ends up being a conqueror. Like it's the exact same thing. But I remember reading that and thinking, like, man, where have I heard that before? That sounds really familiar. Of course, I was didn't put it together at the time, but I knew that there was other stories that were literally saying the exact same thing. And to me, that was already a little bit questionable because those stories were way older than the Bible stories or the Hebrew versions, anyway. And that's just one example.
All right, man. Thanks. Yeah, I just want to ask.
Yeah, no problem.
But yeah, I was
That's
saying when you're talking about prophecy and stuff, there is a bit of
yeah.
coded language in prophecy. Because I think y'all would admit that when y'all read Isaiah 53, right? Because y'all believe Isaiah 53 is about Israel. But
Yeah,
if
it
you were
straight
to
up says
take,
it is. There's no code there. It says it's about Israel. It's not a
Yeah, it
code. It
says
says
it.
really,
that's who it is. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it says it like 8 or
I don't
9
see.
times explicitly. You
I
want me to
don't
read
see
it?
where it explicitly says it. Yeah, you need to start with
Yeah, I'll show it.
at the
Here, I'll
end
give
of
you, like, I got
52.
all kinds of examples of this. So in 44, it says, "But hear now, O Jacob, my servant, Israel, whom I have chosen." So it's clearly identifying Jacob as the servant. And if you
Sure.
scroll on down a little further, it says, "Remember these things, O Jacob and Israel, for you are my servant. I formed you.
Yeah.
You are my servant, O Israel. Do not forget me." Then in 48, he says the same thing. "Israel, you're my servant, in whom I will be glorified." He
What are you
says
talking about?
that,
Isaiah 48?
yeah.
Is that what you? Okay. What about Isaiah 49? What do you think that means?
Well, that one has a little different part. That one's referencing, that's one of the few references to a different servant besides Israel. There's three servants
Hmm.
in Deutero
Interesting.
Isaiah, and that's
So there
identifying one of
is
them. But
more than
that's
just
Isaiah
Israel
himself.
as a servant, right? Because in
Yeah,
Isaiah,
Cyrus is one. Cyrus is
yeah,
one, and Isaiah himself is the other one. That's the only three.
there's also
But
David is
here,
mentioned as a servant in Isaiah prior to Isaiah 53.
well, in
So
Jeremiah, he calls King Nebuchadnezzar a servant. So he has lots
yeah,
of servants.
so
Yeah.
there's lots of
But anyway,
times in the
listen,
Bible
listen
where
to this one.
individuals are right.
Yeah. But it
Okay.
distinguishes that. Like, there's a narrative that's getting pushed here. But in 43 of Isaiah, this is what it says. It says, "You are my witnesses, says the Lord." So there's multiple people, witnesses, right? It says, "You are
Mm-hmm.
my witnesses, says the Lord, and my servant," singular. The
Mm-hmm.
witnesses are the servant whom I have chosen, so that you may know and believe me and understand that I am he. Before me no God was formed, and there shall not be one after me.
Uh,
But anyway, it's
Isaiah
clearly
41,
Okay.
8
identifying
says it
multiple
too.
people as the servant. Yeah,
Well,
Isaiah 41, 8 through 9 says it too.
Isaiah 20 verse 3 says, "Then the Lord said, as my servant Isaiah has walked naked and barefoot for 3 years as a sign and a uh, something against Egypt and Cush." So Isaiah is being described as an individual servant here. In Isaiah
right.
22:20, it says, "In that day I will call my servant Eliakim, the son of Helikai." So here's another individual described as servant. In Isaiah 37:35 says, "I will defend this city to save it for my own sake and for the sake of my servant David." So what I'm saying here is there's multiple times in Isaiah where individuals are described as servants as well. And I think
Absolutely.
Isaiah,
But it told you who that servant was. It said, "This is my servant, David," right?
okay, so but what my point was here is y'all are willing to admit that when you read prophecy, because at the end of Isaiah 52 it says this, "Behold, my servant will act wisely. He shall be high and lifted up and shall be exalted. As many were astonished at his appearance, was so marred beyond human semblance and his form beyond that of the children of mankind. So he sprinkled many nations, or many and kings shall shut their mouths because of him. For what has been told them they see, and what that which they have not heard they understand." So this is
That's right.
beginning. Yeah. So, and you're saying this is all about Israel, right?
Absolutely. It makes
And then
perfect
it says,
contextual sense as to what's
okay,
going
so
on in the story here.
then it goes on to say, in this one point, he was despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief.
Right.
So
Right.
he Israel is being described as a man here, right?
Yeah, he does that. Same as
Okay.
in like Hosea
Okay.
11.
But
He says,
also
"When Israel was a
describes
child, I loved him, and out of Egypt
it.
I called my son." He's calling him a
Sure. Of
son
course.
who is a
Yeah.
he, but he's obviously referring to Israel as the nation.
Well, Matthew says that's about Jesus. But he says, "Surely
Yeah, I
he has
know,
borne
because Matthew's a big old boo-boo maker.
surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we esteemed him stricken, smitten by God. He was
Yeah,
pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed
read that
for our
line again real
iniquities.
slow and listen to the language you're using. Read it real slow
Sure,
there.
surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we
All right, pause
esteemed
just
him
for a second.
stricken.
It says has borne
Has.
our
Past
iniquity.
tense.
Okay.
Past
He
Well,
tense.
has
Revelation.
borne, not he will bear our iniquities. It says he has borne our
Oh,
iniquities.
okay. So
It
he's
says, but
already
he
done this.
was wounded for our transgressions, crushed.
Okay.
Ed is on the end of the word crushed. He was crushed, not he will be
Okay.
crushed.
Well,
He
you do
was
realize that
crushed.
You do realize that Revelation speaks in past tense as well, too, when he's seeing these visions of the future, right?
Well,
So I don't
sometimes, but
really.
it's identifying when that happens. And either way, Revelation isn't Isaiah.
Okay.
This is
Because
completely
So
different.
what
Revelation was
about?
written after the events. That's why
Yeah,
the
way
stuff
after.
already
Okay.
happened.
So I'm trying to find the passage here where he's pierced for our transgressions, his wounds we are healed. We all like sheep have gone astray, everyone to his own
Right,
way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. Right?
right.
He was oppressed and was afflicted, yet he
He
opened not
was
his mouth.
oppressed and he was afflicted.
Okay, he did not open his mouth like a lamb that was led to the slaughter. So in this, it's describing Israel as having a mouth and not opening up like a lamb led to the slaughter.
Yeah, Jesus definitely opened his mouth though. So I think that one's
Well, at
against
one
Jesus
point,
there.
That's
he
because
he
Israel
he
is
talks about it with,
personified in Jacob.
okay,
It's doing it as
Yeah,
as Jacob.
okay. So
yeah.
by
He, him.
oppression
Yeah.
and by oppression and judgment, and as of his generation, who considered that he was cut out of the land of the living, stricken for the transgressions of my people. So, whatever this person Israel is, he was cut out from the land of living, and they made his
Jacob.
grave with
Yep.
the wicked. Right? Okay.
Yep. That's
So
Babylon. Yeah, they're in Babylon.
when was his generations cut off, and when did Israel cease to exist?
When
When did it die?
Nebuchadnezzar enslaved and destroyed Jerusalem, the 70 years began. This is about the 70-year exile in Babylon. And the reason it's
Yeah, but
saying
they
that
were
he was silent,
still giving birth. They didn't cease to
yeah,
exist. They weren't cut out of the land of
yeah,
the
no.
living.
He tells them, he says, while you're in Babylon in captivity, he said the only thing you need to pray for is the well-being for the city that you're in. He says, take wives, have kids. I'm gonna free you
Mm-hmm.
one day.
When they
But
are
right
kicked
Okay.
out of
now
a
they're
land,
being
they're
punished.
considered dead. Yes, when they're kicked
Oh,
out of
okay.
their
Exactly.
So they
land,
were
they're
considered dead,
considered dead. When they don't have a land, they're
even
dead.
though,
They are
even
They
though.
don't
resurrected
have a
back to
God
life.
either because God
Yes,
abandons them. It says it in the
correct.
next chapter. He says, for a brief moment, I abandoned you. I hid my face from you, meaning he would not show himself to them. He was gone. He
Okay.
left.
So, so they were cut out from the land of living, even though Isaiah himself also refers to the remnant of Israel that will not bow the knee to other people. He reserves remnant. So it seems to be a contradiction at that point, doesn't it?
No.
No,
No, it's in perfect conceptual sense with what is
Okay.
going on in the story
Well, I
here.
don't think it.
So
Okay.
here, I'll give you a nutshell.
Yet.
God is mad at Israel. He's very, very pissed they have stopped keeping his laws. So he punishes them.
Sure.
He puts them in
Yep.
exile. He has Jerusalem completely destroyed. And after the 70 years is over, he uses Cyrus, who is also his servant, and the one and only named Messiah in the entire book of Isaiah also. But anyway, he says,
Okay.
when Cyrus frees my exiles, they're going to rebuild the city and lay the foundations of the temple. So when the exile is over and Cyrus frees them, that is when the path in the wilderness is going to lead back to Zion. The redeemed are going to return to Zion and rebuild Zion. And that's when the culmination of Isaiah comes to pass here, that they have been chastised in this captivity, right? They have been exiled and they have been punished, but they have also been redeemed. The day of salvation is the day that the exiles leave Babylon, according to Isaiah chapter
Okay.
52.
So it
So,
says
and in
in verse 10
54,
here.
the eternal covenant is formed that they will never again be confounded or put to shame. God's
Then why
grace
is
and
God
love will
still?
never leave them again,
Why is
is what it
God
says
still
in chapter
punishing them
54.
then?
Because this didn't happen.
Okay, so it says, yet it was the will of the Lord to crush him. He has put him to
Yep,
grief. Then his soul makes an offering for guilt. Then it says, he shall see his offspring. He shall prolong his days. So
yep,
you're saying that Israel itself has made an offering for guilt for the people of
yep.
Israel.
Yeah, that was
Okay,
what the exile was. It was their
okay,
chastisement. The
so
exile
Israel has
was
this.
their punishment, and by their wounds in that punishment, everyone else is healed. And that's the whole point of
Israel has
Isaiah.
a
That's the
soul.
culmination of the prophecy, is the
Israel has
redemption
a
of
soul.
Zion. Yeah.
You think it makes sense to say that Israel has a soul? Out of the
Well,
anguish
the
of his
individual,
soul, he shall see and be satisfied. By his knowledge shall the righteous one, my servant, make
exactly,
many to be
by
accounted
knowledge, not by
righteous.
blood. The New Testament
And
says
he
by
shall,
blood. This is saying by
well, when it's
knowledge
talking
they are
about atonement
justified.
here, obviously he's talking about a blood atonement, I think. And he shall bear their
It
iniquities.
doesn't say blood, it says knowledge.
Okay, but do you think when Isaiah used the word atonement here that he's thinking that no blood is
They
required?
are the atonement. Israel is the atonement. That's what the
Okay.
exile is.
Well,
It
you
is
know
their
what they used to
chastisement
at
and
the
punishment, and it is their
unalive
purification.
animals.
Huh?
Yeah, they unalived animals and sprinkled their blood on the altar
No,
when they
degree, you're
talk about
not
it.
listening when you're talking when he is.
No, I'm listening. I'm just here's my point here. I was going to just it's almost over here. I was going to finish this part here. Therefore, I will divide him a portion with the many. He shall be he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he poured out his soul to death and was numbered with the transgressors. Yet he bore the sin of many and makes intercession for the transgressor. So is Israel now, after pouring out his blood, continuing to make intercession for the transgressors?
Yep, supposedly for the rest of time, according to Isaiah chapter 54. It
So,
explains all that. The
so this
exiles return after
country
the
of
suffering,
Israel,
right? The servant suffers, and
hmm
then they're redeemed. When they are redeemed, the entire world is going to be so shocked by this redemption that kings and princes are going to prostrate themselves before them and come to them in
hmm
procession, and the entire world is going to lick the dust off the feet of the Israelites
but do you think
forever.
that might be, from y'all's perspective, do you think that might be what's beginning to happen now with Iran and all this?
No, this was back then. Like, hold on, let me
Okay.
read one more little thing. Let me read one more. This is from 54. It says, "For a brief moment I abandoned you, but with great compassion I will gather you. In overflowing
hmm
wrath, for a moment I hid my face from you, but with everlasting love I will have compassion on you, says the Lord, your Redeemer.
hmm
This is just like the days of Noah for me. Just as I swore that the waters of Noah would never again go over the earth, so I have sworn that I will not be angry with you, and I will not rebuke you. For the mountains may depart, and the hills may be removed, but my steadfast love shall not depart from you, and my covenant of peace shall not be removed, says the Lord who has compassion on you." So he is clearly saying, just like he promised that the waters of the flood of Noah will never again go on earth, he's saying when Cyrus frees the exiles, which happened in 536 BCE, that they will never again be confounded or put to shame, ever again. They are never again supposed to experience anything like this, according to this prophecy.
Okay. So, yeah, I think my point here, and I do have another passage here from Isaiah 49, but my main point here is that we've read through the end of 52 and all of 53 here. And what to me, even Jesus, this last passage that I read here, he will be numbered with the transgressors. Jesus quotes this passage when he's prior to his arrest and is basically saying, this is having its fulfillment in me. So Jesus is essentially saying here, Isaiah 53 is about me. And then we have later in Acts, we have
Yeah, that's how we know
the
Jesus is
Ethiop,
bogus, because he doesn't know what Isaiah is talking about. He doesn't even know his
the
own context.
Well, apparently he's not the only one, because Philip, when he meets the Ethiopian eunuch who's reading from Isaiah 53, Philip says this is about Jesus. And the Ethiopian eunuch is baptized and becomes a believer because of this. So my point here is that from the New Testament perspective, and I've even seen them do tests on this in Israel, where they will take where Messianic Jewish people will take Isaiah 53 and read it to Orthodox Jews and ask where that's from. They say it's from the New Testament and think they're talking about Jesus until they say, no, this is actually Isaiah 53, and they're shocked. So what my point
Wow.
here is that when you're talking about this prophecy and things like this and the line of David and stuff, which would these prophecies that you're quoting in the Old Testament, you're willing to make these metaphoric jumps to say, well, this is definitely about the nation of Israel. It's obvious. But then when we come to the line of David, you're not willing to have that kind of, or the line of Jesus, you're not willing to have that kind of leniency. So I was wondering, why is that the case?
What do you mean? What leniency am I allowing there?
Because you said earlier there's no possible way that that Jesus could be from the line because the line's cursed and all this. And I gave you the
Right.
possible resolution there. But what you're doing is you're referring back to what prophets have said. And I talked about how
Well,
prophets
not for that. This
speak
is
in
a separate
metaphors and
issue. I was
figures of
just
speech.
yeah, but I don't think this is
And then,
metaphorical. I think it's contextually lining up. It's not
okay,
metaphorical. It's a literal thing that literally
well,
happened. The exile was a
weren't you
literal
reading?
historical event. Cyrus was a literal king. Babylon was a literal place. Jerusalem was a literal place. Jerusalem was literally destroyed. It was literally rebuilt.
Yeah,
Like
but it
all
never
this is
says any of
literal.
that in
Like I'm not
Isaiah
making any of
53.
this. Yes, it does.
But the prophecy never, no, it doesn't say they're going to be going off to slavery in Babylon and all this one, Isaiah 53.
Yes,
None of
it
that's in there.
does.
No, it
Oh, it's not
doesn't.
53, but it's in Isaiah. That's the whole point. You
Yeah,
have to read
I'm
more
talking about
than one
Isaiah
chapter.
53 here.
Like,
And
Don't get,
I
look
don't
at
know.
forget
You
Christians
have to
like to
read more.
separate. Yeah, they have to take just little pieces out. They can't
what
take the whole
that
thing.
seems to be what
It
y'all are
even
doing. It
tells
seems,
you, listen, it even tells you right before the Suffering Servant song starts in chapter 52, it talks about the return to Zion from Babylon. Like, it literally lets you know that this is the event that's taking place right before the Suffering Servant song starts. Literally says it.
okay, well, look, I just, my main point here is that you're willing to show all this leniency about Isaiah 53 when I
There's
think
no leniency. What
a
leniency am I
basic
giving Isaiah 53?
I think it's so obvious, like I said, and you can find this on YouTube where because apparently Orthodox Jews, and I actually talked to a Jewish person who grew up Jewish yesterday. He said I asked him about Isaiah 53. He didn't know anything about it. Apparently he wasn't taught about Isaiah 53, but he's taught about other stuff. I'm saying that when you read this passage to Orthodox Jews, their basic first reaction is this is talking about the individual Jesus, and they think it's in the New Testament.
I
So
don't
what I'm
believe
saying
that.
is a more you can
I don't
It's
if
believe that.
you
Every
can go look
yeah,
up
every
the
you can
Maybe,
find this
videos
but
on
on YouTube.
YouTube.
There,
It's
I know a whole
true.
bunch of
maybe
rabbis, and none of them
yeah.
think 53 is about.
Maybe a messianic Jew,
Nah,
but not an
Yeah.
No, we're
Orthodox
talking.
Jew.
There's
it's
a
on
group called
YouTube.
One for Israel does it.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's on YouTube. He's not lying. That's true.
yeah.
Well, the
Right.
And
majority Jewish people I've spoken to do not say it's about Jesus at all.
well, we're talking
That's
about
not
just
his point. I think his
yeah.
point is that
We're not talking about
when they
Rabbi
bring
Hanna or somebody like that.
Isaiah 53 to people who are Orthodox Jews, they think it's a New Testament verse, not an Old Testament verse, because they don't relate it back to
Correct.
that time. I
Israel.
think that's what he's
Well, I
saying.
mean, that's fine, but I've
Yeah.
read this. I've read Isaiah 1,000 freaking times. I know exactly what it's about. Nobody's going to read 53 to me and tell me it's about Jesus. Like, it doesn't
Yeah,
make
but
Correct.
then
any
you're
sense to
Me
me
neither.
because
but
I
then you're
know the
not
actual
willing to
context.
but you're not willing to extend this to the other prophecies, like you were quoting Jeremiah a while ago. I think you said something about this root of Jesse, the stump of
Yeah,
David. What those passages like
yeah,
that? Obviously, it's not talking about literal stumps and literal roots. So we always obviously know there's some metaphor there. And I'm saying that
right.
when you get into your New Testament, you're not willing to grant that same leniency to fulfill prophecies that you are to Isaiah
I
53. That's the
would if
point.
there was an actual reason to.
Well, I think there is a reason. I gave a reason earlier.
No, that's what you didn't. You said if you
I
look
think
at
I
it
did.
this
It's
way
from the
and if
line
you
of
believe
Mary.
this way, no, because it doesn't say anything about Mary. I have no reason other than you're telling me it's about Mary to think
Okay,
it's about Mary. If I was just reading this
but
myself, I am not getting to Mary. There's no way. It doesn't
but
say
it
Mary. It
doesn't
says
say
Joseph.
anything about. It doesn't explicitly say this is about Israel in Isaiah 53, but you think it's about Israel. That's my
It
point.
does. It says it 9
No,
freaking times. It says
no, it doesn't.
the servant who is suffering is Israel. It says it
No, it
over
doesn't.
and over and yes, it
It
does.
didn't
We
say
just read
it
it.
did. It didn't say that anywhere
But
in that
hear
whole
now,
chapter.
O Jacob, my servant Israel, whom I have chosen. Remember these things,
Yeah,
O
you're not
Jacob and
reading
Israel,
from.
for you are my servant. I formed you. You are my servant Israel. Do not forget. It's like
Well,
literally calling the servant Israel.
but
Why would
that's
I
not
think the servant is anybody but
Isaiah
Israel?
53
No, to
because
agree.
I
It's
gave
just like when you're reading the book of
three
Timothy in
examples.
the New Testament. It's just like when you're reading the book of Timothy in the New Testament. When Paul's talking and he says, you need to do this or you need to do that, or you are here or you are there, you've got to find out who the you is. So how do you do that? You go back up a few chapters in the first chapter to see who the you is that they're talking about. And it tells you from Paul to Timothy, a letter to Timothy. So you're like,
Sure.
oh, okay, so the you
Yeah.
here is Timothy. This is the same thing. You're trying to find out who the servant is here. So you back up a few chapters and you see who the servant is. That's all
Okay.
Ape is doing.
Well, I got another question here. So in Isaiah 49, then it says, "And now the Lord says, He who formed me from the womb to be his servant, to bring Jacob back to him, and that Israel might be gathered to him. For I am honored in the eyes of the Lord, and my God has become my strength." Who is he talking about there? I mean, because that's a
That's
servant, and
Isaiah
that
himself.
can't be about Israel because it's talking about bringing back
That's
Israel, right?
Isaiah. Isaiah
That's
is the
okay.
one who brings the good news
Okay,
to
so
the
so
captives.
that's
That's
an
literally what
individual
he's
servant
doing in this
in
prophecy.
Isaiah,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have already agreed here that individuals can be servants too. He says, "Is it too
Yeah,
light
and
a thing
we've
that?"
already covered this. I said if it's talking
Okay,
about a servant, in some way it identifies what it's talking about. Sometimes it's
okay. So
contextually, but most of the time it
well,
just straight up tells you.
let's say if it identifies Isaiah here, he says, "Is it too light a thing that you should be my servant to raise up the tribes of Jacob and to bring back the preserved of Israel?" So obviously, it's not talking about Israel here. "I will make you a
It
light for the
is. What are they?
nations."
It's where? What would
No, what I'm
somebody
saying
be
is,
brought back from something? They're being
it's
brought
not
back from the exile. That's what this is
yeah,
about. You
but
have to read more than
it's
Isaiah
not
chapter 53
not
though to get
talking
the
about
context.
Israel being the servant here, is what I'm saying, because it's talking about bringing
This
back
servant
Israel.
is Isaiah. This is Isaiah
Yes,
talking here. He's saying,
yeah,
"I am
that's
the
what you're
servant.
saying.
God made me to bring the good news to the captives, to raise up the
Yeah,
tribes. I am bringing the news
okay,
to them about them being brought back to Zion."
okay. So
It says it right under that.
I will make you a light for the nations, that my salvation may reach the ends of the earth. And you're saying that's Isaiah, right?
Yes.
Okay.
No, the light to the
Does the
nations is clearly identified as Israel. They are the light
No,
to the
it's
nations.
all in
He
the
says,
same
"I have
context,
taken
Steve.
you by the hand and given you." And it
No, I'm
says
reading
Israel
this.
is the one God has taken by the hand.
You've already said this is about Isaiah. It can't be about Israel. I'm
That's
reading
a
the same.
different
I'm
part. You
continuing to.
have to, I
No,
know you have to
I'm reading
address
straight
what it's
through.
actually saying in the parts, though. I
This
know.
is Isaiah 49,
The
6 through
context.
7.
You have to
Yeah.
get the context.
Okay, so
Just like I said about Timothy.
Okay, so now says the Lord, "He who formed me from the womb to be his servant, to bring Jacob back to him, and that Israel might be gathered to him. For I am honored in the eyes of the Lord, and my God has become my strength." He says, "Is it too light a
That's
thing that you
Isaiah.
should be my servant, to raise up the tribes of Jacob, to bring back the preserved of Israel? I will make you a light for the nations, and my salvation may reach to the end of the earth." And you're saying that's Isaiah. "Thus says the Lord, the Redeemer of Israel and his Holy One, to one deeply despised, abhorred by the nations, the servant of rulers. Kings shall see and arise, princes, and they shall prostrate themselves because of the Lord who is faithful, the Holy One of Israel who has chosen you." And you're saying that's about Isaiah.
Some of it's
Isaiah is the
about
Redeemer
Isaiah
of Israel.
himself, and he's talking about the servant Israel, who they are the ones who are going to be brought back. They're being
So this
brought
is
back
all
from the exile
continuing.
from Babylon.
Yeah, thus
Yeah,
says
this
the
is all
Lord,
contextual to Isaiah. It explains all this, but you
the
have to read it
Redeemer
all
of
and put it
Israel.
together.
So
Yeah.
Isaiah is the Redeemer of Israel and his Holy One. Who's the Holy
Yeah.
One?
God is the Holy One, and Israel is
Okay,
also called
so
the
the
Holy One.
Redeemer, so Isaiah is the Redeemer and God is the Holy One.
Yep. Yep.
To the one deeply despised. So basically, this Redeemer, Israel, and his Holy One, their salvation will reach to the ends of the earth, right?
Exactly. Yep.
And you think that that makes more sense than to think that this is just simply talking
Yeah,
about
because I've actually read
Jesus.
Isaiah and I know what it's talking about as a whole. It's talking about the Babylonian exile. That's what this is all about. All you have to know is this is talking about the exile, and all this makes perfect sense.
I don't think it does make very good sense, even if we're talking about the
Well, you
exile.
should probably read it all and stop just reading chapter 53.
No, I've read the whole thing.
Can I ask a question that's separate from what y'all
Yeah.
discussing? Okay. Jesus have fulfilled any prophecies?
Are you asking me that?
Yes, sir. Yes.
No, zero. Except for maybe Deuteronomy 13, where it says he's going to send false prophets to test you, to see if you'll stop keeping the law.
Okay. All right. So,
He might have fulfilled that one.
okay. So the prophecy in Isaiah about the virgin giving birth in chapter 7.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, let's do that one. Yeah, there's no prophecy about a virgin giving birth to a Messiah anywhere in the Old Testament. And Hebrew, it doesn't even say virgin; it says Ha'amahara, which means a young woman is currently with child. And that's Isaiah talking 750 years before Jesus. This is about the Assyrian invasion into Judah. The sign of Emmanuel is literally a prophecy giving to King Ahaz, telling him when Judah is going to be safe from the Assyrian invasion, is what that is. Straight up says it too. Again, you don't have there's no real coding here. Like Isaiah's a little harder because it's written poetically for the most part. But you still don't have to code it. Like if you know what it's talking about, like the contextual parts, you don't have to guess. Like it's clearly telling you what it's talking about here. Like it starts off, it says in the days of Ahaz. So it's in the days of Ahaz, son of King Judah, Rezin. King Rezin and King Pekah, son of Remaliah, went up to Remaliah of Israel went up to attack Jerusalem but could not conquer it. So it's just saying two kings, one from Assyria and one from northern Israel, have formed an alliance and they're attacking King Ahaz. So God sends Isaiah to tell King Ahaz, don't worry. He says, this young woman is with child. And by the time this child knows how to tell right from wrong, the two kings who are attacking you are going to have the lands deserted and you won't have to worry about it. That's it. It's the whole prophecy. Has nothing to do with the Messiah at all. Does it mention a Messiah? Doesn't say Emmanuel is going to be a Messiah. Doesn't say anything about that. In fact, Emmanuel is Isaiah's son, and it tells you that in the next chapter when this prophecy actually comes true.
Well, let me
So
ask
for
you
the
something.
New Testament, yeah.
Since it's the case that the New Testament authors are attributing Jesus as having claimed to fulfill these prophecies. Like a while ago, you talked about the year of Jubilee in Isaiah, where it's talking about setting free the oppressed and all of this in Isaiah. I believe it's Isaiah 61. And Jesus reads from the scroll of Isaiah in the book of Luke, that exact passage, and says, today this is being fulfilled in your hearing. And then he stops short of the great fearful day of the Lord and says that this other part, setting free the captive and those who are oppressed, announcing the year of the Lord's favors being fulfilled in your hearing right now. Wouldn't you say if the Christian is believing that Jesus is the one speaking truth and does not lie because we believe he's the divine Son of God, then wouldn't it be reasonable for us to take his word over it than what a Jewish person or a scholar, whoever denies this, says?
Yeah, I mean, if you believe Jesus is this Messiah and he's only telling the truth, then what Jesus says goes. Yeah, I get that. The problem is, if you just go read it, it
Yeah.
don't go because it don't say that. So, I mean,
Well, I think,
why would
I mean, to be honest with you,
why would I say the entire Old Testament is wrong and Jesus is right when he doesn't even
well,
seem like he knows what it's talking about?
but did you know that I became a Christian at the age of 18? I had read the Old Testament before, but I can't remember a lot of details of it before I became a Christian. But after I became a Christian, I believe I read through the New Testament first, and then I went back and started reading through the Old Testament. And I think that might have been in order, maybe not necessarily, but I remember reading these prophecies and thinking, this is about Jesus. It would just, I mean, it wasn't even like when I'd read Isaiah 53 or Psalms
That's
22.
why you think that, though, because you read the New
Okay,
Testament first.
well, I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
I don't know,
If you would have
but
read the Old
You're
Testament
looking
first and then
actively
moved on, you
looking
would
for
have been
Jesus
like,
in
"What?
here.
well, no,
Yes,
I think what would have happened is if I didn't read the Old Testament first and then I went to the New Testament, I'd be like, oh, that's the prophecy from the Old Testament.
well, we know that Jesus
Well, hold
doesn't
on.
So,
know what he's talking about when he says in John 10:34 that he says, isn't it written in your law that ye are gods? It's not written in the law that they are gods. That's just in the Psalms. So Jesus doesn't quite know
well,
what he's talking
Yeah.
about.
when Jesus talks about he often refers to laws and prophets as together, but I mean, like when I read Psalm, like if you read Psalms 22, it says, "Therefore, O kings, be wise, be warned, O rulers of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry and you perish in the way of his wrath is quickly kindled. Blessed are all who take refuge in him." So in Psalms 2 here is saying, referring to the Son of God, because in verse 7 it says, "I will tell the decree, the Lord said to me, you are my son, today I have begotten you." And then so I automatically recognize Jesus in these passages, or Proverbs chapter 30, where it talks about the Son of God in there. And I'm saying that from my Christian perspective, it's just comes natural, very easy when I see a prophecy in the Old Testament to recognize Jesus. So if
You
you
can't
have the
do it
mindset,
contextually though. You can't do it.
if you
It's
have the
impossible.
mindset that Jesus is the Son of God, you would agree that this makes sense, right?
I would agree it makes
Isaiah
sense
53.
if you have your Jesus goggles on, but if you actually read the context of these stories, none of it makes any sense at all to Jesus in the actual
Well,
context.
it's not that
None of
we
it.
just have
Zero.
we it's not that we have the Jesus goggles on. We literally have the Spirit of Jesus dwelling within us, telling us
And
this
Yeah,
stuff.
I get it,
and
but like
here's
we
a
can take like 3 minutes here and read Isaiah chapter 7, and the context is clear. This don't have nothing to do with a Messiah. It don't have nothing to do with a virgin giving birth to a Messiah. It's about the Assyrian invasion into Judah. This has nothing to do with what the New Testament says it does contextually.
What if it's prophecy that has like possibly more of a double type meaning, a deeper spiritual meaning, but
Okay,
also
Dual
that's
maybe
fine,
prophecy.
but
directly?
you have to give me some sort of semblance to the actual context here. If you're going to say even that there's like a double fulfillment or a topological fulfillment, then tell me what it is and make it make sense to the actual context.
Well, see,
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say Isaiah 53 is a double fulfillment. I think that is just explicitly about Jesus. I mean, I just think it doesn't make sense to read that as about the nation of Israel. There's too many
It's the
problems to
only
do.
sense that it makes in
But when you
Isaiah.
say out of Egypt I call my son, that could be maybe viewed as because Egypt was, but Israel was in Egypt, and it may
Well,
be
hold on.
harkening
Well,
back
this
on
is
that, but
let's
also
just
about
stick on.
Jesus.
I mean, yeah, I hear you. That actually, you could probably make a little more sense if you're comparing it metaphorically to that language, but that's not even a prophecy, and the New Testament's calling that a prophecy. So that would be my problem with that. But anyway, like we can do Isaiah 7 really, really quick. So what does it say that this child called Emmanuel is going to do? What is the point of
Are you
Emmanuel
asking
in
me,
Isaiah
or are you
chapter 7?
asking?
Yeah,
no, he
I'm asking you.
asking.
Or either one of you.
I had to
You're both
let me
here,
get
so.
it.
Well,
Isaiah
well, wouldn't it be?
7.
Wouldn't it be that? Yeah, wouldn't it be that Jesus is
Yeah.
God with us? Wouldn't that be the dual thing that He was with them in their exile, but He's also with them as He came in the earth? Because it says that He will walk amongst His people and teach them the laws, and that's exactly what He did. Wouldn't it be that kind of dual symbolism?
No.
One,
Not
okay,
contextually.
fair, okay, fair disagreement. But can you explain why
See,
not?
that's the thing. Yeah, this prophecy comes true in the next chapter. It happens. This prophecy's fulfilled. It's over and done with. Like to say this is about Jesus, a guy 750 years later, when it's about the Assyrian invasion into Judah. Like Jesus has nothing to do with that. Nothing at all. It was 750 years before Jesus. Like I said, this Emmanuel is assigned to King Ahaz. That was Hezekiah's father, right? And it straight up says it, like in verse, where's it at here? Let me look at it. It says, when the house of David, this is in verse 2 of chapter 7, it says, when the house of David heard that Aram had allied itself with Ephraim, the heart of Ahaz and the heart of his people shook as the trees shake in the forest before the wind. He's saying that Ahaz and the people are scared to death because they're being invaded by Assyria. They're very dangerous. So then the Lord said to Isaiah, go out to meet Ahaz and your son Shir Jazub at the end of the conduit of the upper pool on the highway to the fuller's field, and say to him, take heed, be quiet, do not fear, and do not let your heart be faint because of these two smoldering stumps of firebrands, because the fierce anger of Rezin and Aram and the son of Remaliah, because of Aram and Ephraim the son of Remaliah. That's the two kings. That's King Rezin and King Pakal. They're the ones who are attacking King Ahaz in Judah. And it says, because he has plotted evil against you, saying, let us go up against Judah and terrify it, and conquer it for ourselves, and make the son of Tabel king in it. Therefore, thus says the Lord God. Anyway, so what we just read is Ahaz is terrified of King Rezin and King Pakal, and it says they are trying to conquer it to install Tabel as a king, like a client king in it. Like that's straight up what it's saying there. Now it gets to Isaiah. It says again, the Lord spoke to Ahaz. So it's saying the Lord is speaking to Ahaz. It's saying, ask a sign of the Lord your God. Let it be as deep as Sheol or as high as heaven. But Ahaz said, I will not ask, and I will not put the Lord to the test. And then Isaiah said, hear then, O house of David, is it too little for you to weary mortals that you weary my God also? Here's the money shot. It says, therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. Look, the young woman is with child, and shall bear a son, and shall name him Emmanuel. He shall eat curds and honey, and by the time he knows how to refuse the evil and choose the good, the land before whose two kings you are in dread will be deserted. That's it. That's the whole prophecy. That's the whole
It's the
point.
same.
The whole prophecy.
I would look at that
It's
as
the
a
same as
double.
if it's the same as if you would read Hosea 1, where it says, Gomer again conceived and gave birth to a daughter, and the Lord said to Hosea, name her Lo-Ruhamah, for I will no longer have compassion on the house of Israel. So it's the same verbiage used in Hosea as there, where it says conceived and gave birth. Past tense.
Well, let me ask. So, who is this? Who's this child? He has his son being born, right?
It's Isaiah's son. It tells you that in the next chapter.
I
There's
mean,
all
Isaiah said.
so
Now,
what's happening? Yeah, in the progression.
Is this his first son?
I don't know if it's his first or not. It doesn't mention that. But that's what's happened in this progression.
I
There's
think
lots of
that's
children
important.
being born in each chapter here, and they all have prophetic names, like Emmanuel. But the point of that prophetic name is that God is with King Ahaz. He's saying Judah will be safe from the Assyrian invasion because God is with them. The soldiers cry out Emmanuel in the next chapter when Assyria invades them. That's why I'm saying this prophecy happens. But here, hold on a second. We'll just read it. So if you go to the very
Yeah.
next chapter, chapter 8, right after the part about Emmanuel, it jumps into this part. And it says, I have went to the prophetess, and she conceived and bore a son. Then the Lord said to me, name him Mahalalel Hazbaz, for the child knows how to call my name, my father and my mother, and the wealth of Damascus, and the spoil of Samaria, that's the two kings that we was just talking about, will be carried away by the king of Assyria. And then it says, take notice, all you peoples, and be dismayed. Listen, all you far off countries, gird yourself and be dismayed. Take counsel together, but it shall be brought to naught. Speak a word, but it shall not stand. For God is with us. Like, that's the whole point of the prophecy here. And then if you scroll on down after the whole Assyria rising up like a tide, it says, see, I and the children who the Lord has given me are signs and portents from Israel, from the Lord of hosts who dwells on Mount Zion. So this is literally Isaiah saying himself and these children are signs from God to Israel. Like, it's telling you explicitly what is going on, what's happening, and what these children's names mean. So there's no reason at all contextually to think this is about Jesus. It has absolutely nothing to do with
So
the coming Messiah.
Isaiah has a son named Emmanuel.
Yeah. He's one of them. Yeah, he has several sons. The other one's
Okay.
Maher-shalal Hazbaz.
Okay, who's the oldest? Who's the youngest?
Oh, I don't know. If you go in the order, then Emmanuel's probably the oldest. But I don't know. It
Well,
doesn't
that's
say.
what I was
It
asking
doesn't even
because
say
it
they
says
have the same mother. They could be being born around the same time. It's just
that's
talking
what I
about
believe is.
prophetesses.
I believe that this is, at first glance, about Isaiah, but specifically about Jesus. Then it goes on,
Okay,
obviously in
so
Isaiah 9,
contextually, how can you possibly get to Jesus from the story we just read?
because I believe that that in these prophecies and these things that there's hidden prophecies within, as the Bible says, it
Like
is
what?
God's
What's the hidden part?
Hidden prophecy. Where in the
a
world do
virgin,
you find that the Bible
the
has hidden
virgin,
prophecies?
the virgin birth. Isaiah 9:6, run to us, a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulders, and he shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of
That's more
Unto
Peace.
names.
us
It's more
a
prophetic
child is born.
names.
Unto
Yes,
Yeah.
us a child is
yeah.
born. Is
And they call
But
born.
it
him
says
Not
has
will
been
be
call
born.
born,
him
a
Mighty
son
God.
given. They already have this baby. This is
Yeah,
another
not will
baby
be
being born
Okay,
born.
here with
yeah.
prophetic names. They
And
all
of
have
the
prophetic
increase of his
names.
government and peace there will be no end on the throne of David and his kingdom. But his kingdom did end, right? But Jesus' kingdom did not end.
Yeah, this is an enthronement prophecy for King Hezekiah. He's the son of King Ahaz. Again, this makes perfect contextual sense to what's actually going on in the story. But it doesn't make contextual sense to Jesus because it says a child has been born for us. It says the child
Didn't you
has
say that
already been born.
the kingdom was cursed earlier and come to an end, right?
No.
Because of the
Why
curse.
would you say that?
Because you were arguing this, talking about the line of David a while ago. I mean, the line of Jesus. So it says, of his kingdom there shall be no end. Well, surely you don't think this person lived forever, do you? Not talking about him,
No.
but
It's just that's just the language they
The
used in these
kingdom.
Hey,
enthronement
so
The
it
hold
prophecies.
on,
kingdom.
doesn't.
hold on.
So
Can
it
I
says it has no end, but it actually has an end. Is that what
hold
you're
on?
saying?
Hold on. Before you jump back to his point, I just read Isaiah 8. I don't see a name for Isaiah's son as Emmanuel.
I didn't see it either.
And
Wait,
then
what?
I read into it doesn't say that
Yeah, it
I
does.
actually
So
scrolled through
it's
it.
It's
talking
in
Didn't see
there.
about
it
these
either.
kids. In chapter 7, you have Emmanuel being born to the prophetess. And then in chapter 8, you have another one being born to a
to what
prophetess. And
prophetess?
that's what I
No, we
read
don't
it at
see
the end.
where
It
it's actually
says,
being born. That's the point.
What prophetess? To which prophetess is the
it
son?
doesn't name her. It doesn't give
It
a name
doesn't
for her. It
say
just
who it
says,
is.
Right. And
yeah,
then
it
if
just
you
says for
look,
Maria.
when you look in 8 and it says he said I went and made love to the prophetess. The son he named isn't Emmanuel. It's Meher. And then the other
I
son,
know
if
it's
I
a
don't
different child. Yeah.
Verse
It's
8.
giving a whole
Verse
bunch of
8.
different children here.
but even in verse 8, it just says the name Emmanuel. It doesn't say his son. That's
Mm-hmm.
just like saying God's with us.
Yeah,
That's just
exactly. That's the point. The point
but
is
that
the
don't mean
name.
that
It's not about a person. It's about the prophetic name. It's about Assyria is invading them, and God is telling them,
I,
"Don't worry, I am with you." That's the whole
yeah,
point of this prophecy: is that God is with them during the
right.
Assyrian invasion.
Right. I agree. But
Right?
what was said was that he had a son, that she'll have a son
Exactly.
and name him Emmanuel.
Yeah.
There is no son that's named Emmanuel in
Yeah.
the 8th chapter,
Yes,
is what
there
I'm
is.
saying.
The
Yeah.
child is already born. I'm telling y'all, you've got to understand the language here. And it says, I went to the prophetess and she conceived and bore a son. This is past tense language. This has already
Right.
happened, right?
Okay. So then,
Exactly.
if you Google how many sons Isaiah had in the Bible, it says Isaiah has two sons mentioned in the Bible. Neither one of them are mentioned as Emmanuel. One's called Shir
Same.
Jesub, and one, yeah. So what we're saying here is this is why we believe this is a
Your son,
prophecy about Jesus.
Yes.
So in verse
Okay.
8, who's
Yeah,
he calling, O Emmanuel, when he's speaking here? Who's he calling,
I think
O
we're talking about
Emmanuel?
Jesus. I think it's a prophecy about Jesus.
But
So
you said read it
We
in the
know
God
you
is
think
saying,
it's about
hold on.
Jesus.
You said read it in
yes,
the context. And in the context, he could just be expressing saying God is with us. Right?
That's the point.
Okay.
Yes, that's exactly what's happening. Emmanuel is not about the child. It doesn't say the child is going to do anything except be a timeline for when Assyria is safe, or when Judah is safe from Assyria. That's the point of Emmanuel. When it says, feel the breath of your land, O Emmanuel, that's the soldiers crying out during this battle. The battle happens. It's a battle. And in a battle, you want your God on your side. You say, God is with us. Let's get them. Oh, charge. And they're saved. Like, that's the whole point of this. It's back in, it tells you that back in chapter 7 here. It says the whole point of this prophecy, if you do not stand firm in faith, you shall not stand at all. Like, they have to accept that God is with them. It's about faith. That's the whole point of
yeah,
this.
so
That's
if when
contextually
I clicked
accurate.
on the footnotes in here, and I clicked on the Emmanuel. It says Emmanuel means God with us. And then when I clicked on the Mahir Shalal Hajbaz, it means the spoil speeds, the prey hastens, or swift to plunder, quick to carry away. That's what that means.
So you're saying that none of his two sons means these names mean Emmanuel? Are
No,
you
we're
saying which?
saying Emmanuel, it's about the meaning of the name. The name, like, even
Well,
if, okay, say there's the baby, and that's Emmanuel, right? The baby makes no actual difference. The whole point is the name here, the name Emmanuel. And the name
Right.
Emmanuel means God is with us. God is with us during this invasion. Like, that's the whole point of this prophecy here.
yeah,
That's the
but
Like, it
culture of
says,
the people. The
is there
names
lit?
meant something.
Does Isaiah literally have a son named Emmanuel? That's the question.
wait, no, that's not what that's about. Even though
Okay,
technically you could say it is
that's
his
why we
son, yeah.
think this is a prophecy about Jesus.
Because it was
Jesus was
said
never
because
called
it was
Emmanuel, though.
because
Jesus
you
was never called that.
no, here's what I'm saying. No Degree had asked the question. He was like, "So you're saying Isaiah had a son named Emmanuel?" And he said, "Yes." Ape, you said
Yeah,
yes.
that's what I'm talking
And
about.
I
You
was
can
like,
say that here because that's what it's
"That's
getting
an
at. In verse
inference.
18 in chapter
That's
8,
an
it's yeah, but
that,
hold on. It says, "See, I and the children whom the Lord has given me are signs and portents in Israel from the Lord of hosts." That's what he's talking about. These are prophecies, they're prophetic names being given in specific situations for specific outcomes.
I
That's the whole
agree.
point of this. This
I
is
agree.
not
It's a
about Jesus.
title.
It
Yeah.
can't be.
You're right. Right. I agree. I don't. I'm not arguing with that. That's
Okay,
not what
well,
I'm
there you go.
arguing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect.
I just saying. You said like, oh, that was Isaiah's son, and I'm saying no. Isaiah didn't have a son named Emmanuel. That was what I brought that up for. Not to say that the names in Hebrew don't have meaning and that they weren't assigned for the times. That wasn't what I was arguing. I was just pointing out that that's what you said, but it was incorrect. That's all.
It's not incorrect. I'm saying you
And
can say that, but you don't
I
have
mean,
to.
look, from what I've seen here, it seems like the mental gymnastics is not on the Christian side, it's on the atheist side here with all these prophecies and
No,
things
it's
we've brought
no, the
up.
context is
There
right
seems to
up.
be
It
some
says, I
extreme
went to the
mental gymnastics
prophetess
here.
and she conceived and bore a son. It's Isaiah. He's saying, I went
Yeah,
to the
and does it say
prophetess and
she
she
named
conceived and
him
bore a son.
Emmanuel?
It's describing him and his sons as signs. That's why I'm saying you can say that this is Isaiah's sons here because he's
Okay,
the one
so
talking, he's the one visiting the
but then
prophetess.
you
It's already saying the children are born.
you fall
So, I
into
mean,
the same problem that is happening. You're claiming is happening in New Testament though, because Petrina said nowhere is Jesus named Emmanuel in the New Testament. Well, you don't see where the son given here was named Emmanuel in the Old Testament either. So what I'm saying here is when the New Testament identifies that this prophecy is about Jesus, then the Christian here would be justified because they believe the New Testament writers are authoritative and inspired by God. Then we would be justified in believing that this is about Jesus because we would take that word over, say, a Johnny come lately scholar who says it's not.
Well, you find Emmanuel in the next chapter of Isaiah 7, though. You don't find it in the next chapter after Jesus is born.
Okay.
no one ever calls him Emmanuel one time.
Well, it says he shall be called Emmanuel. It doesn't say he shall be named Emmanuel.
But he wasn't
No
called
one
it
even
either.
calls him that.
Well, they
Yeah,
multiple
well,
commentators
that's what
have.
we imply as Christians, right? That he is God in the
But
flesh and he
it
was with
is
him.
Well,
said
yeah, you
here
have
in
to, but it's
Isaiah
all
8.
you got, and it's completely divorced from the actual context of Isaiah.
Well,
Yeah,
what
it
we're
is
saying here
mentioned in
is
Isaiah 8.
we don't have any record of Isaiah having a child that he named Emmanuel. He has two sons, but neither are named Emmanuel.
I know, I'm saying
So,
in the prophetic sense is what I mean there.
yeah,
But you
we're
can
talking
take
about the
it
If
prophetic
literally
sense.
too.
This
That's
is
what I'm
about
if you
saying.
go
Either
down to
way,
verse
it makes
10,
sense.
if you go down to verse 10 in Isaiah 8, it says, devise a plan, but it will be thwarted. State a proposal, but it will not happen. For God is with us.
I'm
Yet
telling
in
you,
the New
y'all
It's
aren't
Testament,
just
acknowledging
this
the
happened.
language.
reiterating the
That happened in the
Emmanuel.
New Testament. Well. yeah, in the New Testament, when they were saying, they were marveling that God could do this through man and things like. So there's this whole idea too that God is with Jesus in the New Testament. We see this kind of reiterated. This I mean, it's probably translation a little bit different because it's a different language, but there is this idea that God is working through this man when he's performing these miracles, things like that. So God is literally with man here too. So I'm saying that that whole attitude there is throughout the New Testament, through when Jesus is performing these miracles and things.
So you're saying
Yeah, I
God
mean,
is
I get
with
it. That's
them
just a
for
Christian
all time.
perspective. Yeah.
God
Yeah,
is with them for all time. But
and
this
then
is
we have
specifically stated in Isaiah 8, though.
And then we have something like Isaiah 9:6, where it says, He shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. And then we
Yeah, that's
have this
Hezekiah.
yeah, and you're saying there that's about Hezekiah being called Mighty God, Everlasting Father, which
The
would
name
obviously be
Hezekiah literally
blasphemous.
means mighty God. No, the name Hezekiah literally means mighty God. And he was literally
Okay,
a prince of peace.
and his kingdom shall have no end, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
It's an
Hezekiah's
enthronement prophecy.
kingdom ended, right?
Look, contextually, this is about a baby that has just been born, and that baby is Hezekiah. He's the son of King
Okay.
Ahaz. Again, all this lines up chronologically in Isaiah.
So
So
but
here
it also
again, this
lines up
this is
it also
actually
lines up with
this
Jesus.
is the best point we can make with the language here, because this one has both. This one demonstrates clearly that the language of present and future tense is important. So for a child has been born to us, a son given to us. If I said that to you, you would assume that I have a baby. It has been given to me, right?
Sure.
And then it says in verse 7, great will be his authority. It doesn't say great is his authority. It says great will be his authority. So we're talking about a baby whose authority one day will be great. This is
Future
just an
tense. Yep.
enthronement prophecy. This is what they did with princes. When a prince was born, they did all these purification rituals and
Sure.
rites, and then held him up in the air and said, hey, this is
Yeah,
Almighty
kind of
God, Prince
given
of Peace.
prophecy.
Great will his throne will last forever. Like, this is just near
So it's
Eastern
just
tradition here.
hyperbole.
Like, it's reflected.
So it's just hyperbole to say his throne
So,
will last forever.
in a sense, yeah.
And
Okay,
then,
so when it
Yeah, in a
and
says
sense,
then,
yeah. But
everlasting God,
this throne is
mighty
literal, though.
Father.
He is a literal prince who will sit on a literal throne as a literal king of Israel, though.
And
That's
he will be
prophecy.
Isaiah,
That's
called.
what that's about.
Isaiah 8:18 backs this up. It says, here am I, and the children the Lord has given me as signs and symbols in Israel from the Lord of hosts who dwells on Mount Zion.
Okay,
These
so
children were signs and symbols.
read Isaiah 9:6 again out loud and 7.
All right, for a
Or I can read
child
it.
has been
I don't
born
even
for
think he
us, a
heard that.
son.
No, I heard what you said. I just want to make sure that y'all are willing to say that this is definitely about Hezekiah and can only be about
Yeah,
Hezekiah.
yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
so
It
would you
says,
like to
for a
read it?
child has been born to us, a son
Yeah.
given to us. Authority rests upon his shoulders, and he is named Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Great will be his authority, and there shall be endless peace for the throne of David and his kingdom. He will establish it and uphold it with justice and with righteousness from this time onward and forevermore. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will do this.
And so clearly that did not happen with Hezekiah, right?
It clearly did happen.
Well, there's not endless peace, because I know y'all wouldn't say
Oh,
that,
no,
because y'all
well, I
say
mean,
there's
that
not
didn't
endless
happen with
peace now.
Jesus. Like, no, that's
Well, yeah,
just
I know,
part of
that's what I'm saying.
that's
So
what I was saying. That's just
you would
part of the
have to say it's
traditional.
not. Now, I believe it actually did
Well,
happen with Jesus, because anyone who accepts Christ as their Savior, they have endless peace. So I think I think
I
it's
was a
talking
Christian over
about that.
20 years, and I didn't have endless peace.
I didn't
Did you have
either.
endless
Well,
peace, Patrina?
No.
well,
Uh,
I
Every
mean,
day I was
uh,
repenting, thinking I was going to hell if I had a bad thought.
I think this
I
is
did
a
that when I was a
sign
kid.
that
I got over it when I was
salvation.
older, but
I think this is a sign that you can't lose your salvation, but that's a different topic. So if y'all really
look,
did accept Jesus as
look,
your
at least
Savior,
agree with us
then
here that
you're not.
contextually it makes perfect sense to say this is about a baby Hezekiah who's being born as a Judean prince from the line of
I
David, who
don't.
is about to sit on a literal throne of David, which he did. And he was known
I,
as the king of peace. He was a very, very good king in Jewish tradition. So it makes
well,
perfect sense that he brought
I wouldn't call it
peace and
perfect
stuff.
sense since he's called everlasting Father, mighty God,
It's the
wonderful
name, my
counselor.
man. It's about the
Yeah.
name.
Okay,
Y'all
so
make way too big a deal about the
but when
names.
Jesus,
It's
but
just
when
prophetic
Jesus is
names.
But when Jesus is baptized, we see mighty God speaking, "This is my son in whom I'm well pleased." We see the counselor, the Holy Spirit, come dwelling upon Jesus like a dove. And obviously, Jesus is the Son of God, and we believe his kingdom has no end. We believe that because he says it's a heavenly kingdom, it's not a kingdom of this world. So we believe that the kingdom of Jesus is literally eternal and is still going on right now, and we're benefiting from that. So what I'm saying is, from the Christian perspective, it makes far more sense to say this is about Jesus as opposed to Hezekiah. But you could say maybe it has some sort of double meaning in a sense, but it makes more sense for a Christian to say this is about Jesus, and that's what I'm saying.
Well, that's all a Christian will ever say. Nobody's shocked about that. I'm just saying contextually,
Mhm.
there's a complete separation here. It's completely divorced from what's actually going on
Well,
contextually.
when y'all believe Jesus as your Savior, did y'all believe that what he said was the absolute truth,
I did.
and then it couldn't be wrong? That he couldn't be wrong about this?
Yeah.
And so when Jesus quotes Isaiah 53 or Isaiah 6:2 or 61 and applies this stuff to himself, you're saying it can't be wrong that this can't not be about Jesus. It must necessarily be about Jesus, right? Because he can't be
Well, as a
wrong.
Christian, you have to do that, but I don't have to do that. I can take an
Well, yeah,
honest look at
but
this
as a
and
Christian, you
intellectually
would have.
be honest and say there's no way that Jesus is right when I just read Isaiah and it
Okay.
has nothing to do with that.
Okay, so then I guess my question would be then, if you believe Jesus is the absolute truth, why would you believe Jesus was wrong on this?
Because I actually read it and he was wrong. Why would I
Okay, but
why would I think he's
wouldn't you
right
just
when he seems wrong?
because
Like that makes no sense to
because
me.
because you would have just assumed you were a sinner who didn't fully understand everything, right?
I mean, maybe. Like you're just giving me Christian perspective. You're not actually
Yeah.
lining up
Well, see,
reality
look,
here. Like,
I'm trying to put myself in y'all's shoes. If you claim to have believed Jesus is the absolute truth and cannot be wrong, he can't lie, couldn't be that Jesus wasn't fulfilling Isaiah 53. Then when you read Isaiah 53 and said, "Oh no, this is about Israel," which I don't know how you read that if you believe Jesus, it's about Jesus, because it's just obviously to me about Jesus. But if you thought that, wouldn't you just assume that your reasoning was flawed and you're lacking understanding, like the Bible says?
yeah, and I have been there. I have assumed exactly what you're
Okay,
talking about. But
okay,
I
so is it
decided to be
possible you're still
intellectually
lacking?
honest and realize that this isn't lining up. Either Jesus is wrong or Isaiah is wrong. So you
Or
can't
you're wrong?
Or yeah,
intellectually,
Are
honestly
you wrong?
say this is clearly about Jesus.
that's a
Could
great
you be
question.
wrong?
Could both of y'all be wrong? Patrice and Abe, could y'all be wrong?
Sure.
Both of us? I can't be wrong because Jesus says it's about him, and I don't believe Jesus is gonna
Well,
lie,
you
be wrong.
can be wrong contextually. You can believe you're
You
right, but you can be
you mean
shown
the
to be
No,
wrong in
author?
the
well,
face of
I mean,
contradiction.
I'm holding to
You mean the
the
author
view
says it.
that Jesus is
You
the
don't
absolute
know if
truth,
Jesus said it or not.
and if Jesus is the absolute truth, as I believe, I can't be wrong. That's what I'm saying.
Well, either Jesus is all right and the rest of the Bible's wrong, or the rest of the Bible's right and Jesus is wrong. But you can't have it both
I
ways
would say
Okay.
because
Jesus
their
is
Can
words
I ask a
aren't
all
lining
question?
up.
right,
Can I ask a question?
and your understanding is wrong.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead,
Okay.
servant. Hey, he's
Do
a
you,
servant.
yeah. Do you think that the commandments, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that they can all be summed up in love? To love God and love your
No.
neighbor as yourself. Okay. Why not?
Are you talking about the Ten Commandments or all the commandments?
The Ten Commandments.
The Ten Commandments?
Yeah.
No, I don't think that's love. I think it's orders, divine command.
Okay. Let me ask you this question. If I say I love you, right? Would I steal from you?
I mean, I don't
Yes.
know.
Yes, you
You
could.
could,
Yes.
yeah. If you
No,
was desperate,
if you go
especially.
if you're going by the truth, and I didn't say if I could. If I said if I say I love you, would I steal from you? Would you
Yes.
believe that I would you believe that my intentions is to steal from you if I say I love you?
Yes, I've had people do it
I
to
didn't
me who
ask,
say
that's
they love me.
Patrice, I get you. I'm not saying that that's not the case. I'm saying if you understand what love is, it's to not is to take a position in your heart towards someone to not bear them any wrong, to seek their highest good. If I say
Yeah,
I'm seeking your
intentionally, no,
highest
you're
good,
right. Yeah.
if yeah, then okay, thank you for being honest.
Realistically,
Thank you
no.
for
Yeah.
thank you for being honest. So if that is the case, then when Jesus said all of the commandments could be summed up as in love God and love your neighbor as yourself, is that wrong?
I think so.
But you just said that if we're talking about love realistically, that a person wouldn't seek to hurt anybody, right? That's love. The fact that you
Might
don't
not
go out
seek
and
to,
hurt,
but that doesn't mean you won't do it. It just
I
means you
agree. I
might not have
agree. I
intended to,
agree.
or you might not like it. But
I agree.
realistically, it's not a thing.
I agree that as humans, it's not that we're going to be successful at it, but that's not what I'm arguing. What I'm arguing is for its
I know.
meaning. Right. Okay.
Mhm.
And in its meaning, you say, "Hey, I love you." So that means my intentions, my upfront, honest to God intentions, is not to do you any harm or ill will, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So if that's the case, when Jesus said all of these can be summed up as this, you're telling me when it says, "Do not steal, do not lie, do not covet, do not do not covet your neighbor's wife, honor God," and all of this, you're telling me all of that is not love?
I don't know. They're commands. Commands
Th-
aren't
But
love.
but 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 if they're all love, then that's what Jesus was pointing to. And if that's true, then that would mean that he is credible.
It depends
That
on
would
what you
add to
consider all love, though, from Jesus's perspective and what Jesus
okay.
preached.
In his perspective, it was to seek the highest good of another person, right?
Yeah, that's a new command Jesus gave, right?
Right. So he said, do not. He said, do not. Give me one. Do not covet your neighbor's wife. If I'm in relationship with
Yeah.
you, I say, hey man, you're my brother. I love you. That means I should not want your wife, right?
That's because
Yeah, it
women
says
were
don't.
property.
Yeah, it says don't covet your neighbor's slave too.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, and that's a servant, right?
No, it's a slave.
Yeah, they were both property. The wife and the slave were both property. That's why you can't covet them. They were another man's property.
That's what I'm saying. This is all subjective. If you take
Okay.
it on a
I,
very
can
general
I ask
level,
you?
if you love
Okay.
somebody, will you hurt them? Then no,
Okay.
you're right. But this
Can
gets
I?
way more complicated than that.
Okay, Patrice, can I ask you a question? Do you work a job?
Me?
Yeah.
Katrina?
Yeah.
Do I work a job?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you belong to your job when you're on the clock?
Yes.
Okay. What's wrong with that?
Well, I can quit if I want to. I can leave if I want to. I'm free to do that. When you're a
Yeah,
slave, you're not free to do that.
you could.
Hmm. A slave can't.
It's a slave could.
No,
A
a
slave
slave can't.
can't.
No, no, no.
He would be beaten or unalived if he tried
There,
to escape.
there would be consequences. Wouldn't it be consequences for you if you left your job?
No, I'd just go get another job.
So the
No,
consequences
dude, stop. Just stop. No, you're not comparing employment to chattel slavery. Like, this is not a good
Correct.
comparison.
I'm not saying
It's just going to make you look worse
I'm
if you keep talking right now. So I'm
I'm
trying to
not
help you
com-
out.
Yeah.
And say,
I'm
stop
not
comparison
no,
modern employment to chattel slavery. That's not a
hear
good.
No,
hear what I'm
completely
saying.
different.
You're a part of a chattel slave to a government system. That's what I'm saying.
No, I'm not. No, I'm
You
not.
No, I'm not.
I can
you
move
have
to a different
have
country right now if I want to. I can
and
go to a different state.
how many what would you be wouldn't you just be what's the word? Wouldn't you just be moving all of the authority from that's over you now to a different government? I'm asking you a question. Wouldn't you be moving
And you're
the
condoning slavery
I'm not condoning
and saying
slavery.
and saying
I'm
it's
saying
not chattel
listen.
slavery is not what it
I don't
was.
think he's condoning it. I think he's
I'm
just
not
trying to make a really,
condoning it.
really
I'm
bad
trying.
comparison
No,
to try to
yeah, I'm
justify
not
slavery in the
condoning
Bible.
it. I'm just saying, if you left this country, you're leaving the authority of America to another country, and you'll be under their authority, right?
That don't mean they own you, man. We're talking about being owned as property. That's what a chattel slave is. They are someone who is owned as property. They have no personal rights. Their body and their rights belong to the master. If they have children, they belong to the master. You can kick them out and say, I'm keeping the kid, it's mine. Like, that's just how it is. Like, a government and a job does not have these authorities over you. They can't beat you with a rod as long as you don't die within a day or two. They can't sell your daughter as a slave. Like, we're
So
talking
don't
about
they?
chattel
Hold
slavery
on.
here.
Don't they beat people in Taiwan?
What?
In the Philippines, they beat people with a
What are you
rod.
talking about?
They beat people. You said the government doesn't have the
Well, then
authority
that's
to do
fucked
that.
up, and they need to stop
But
it.
they do. But
It's
they do.
evil.
But they, I'm just pointing out the realities, as you said. Let's point out the realities.
Okay, well then
Let's
that
say
is
okay.
messed
Let's
up,
say
and it's
let's
evil, and
Oh
it
my
needs to
gosh.
stop.
okay.
You gotta be kidding me.
And let me ask you a question. If you had a child and you were on drugs, couldn't the government come and take your child away?
Yeah, because you've
They
endangered
have the
them, and
power
they
to.
have to
That's
do it through
authority.
a legal, and they have to do it through a legal process. They can't just decide to
I
do it on a whim
I
and say,
agree.
"Now your kid's ours."
Okay, I agree.
Yeah,
But these are the realities of the world, right? These are the realities. That's my point. These are the realities.
no, you're making a very bad comparison.
No. You're trying to judge the comparison. I'm asking, is it real? Does this happen in reality?
Yeah, just asking me stuff that
Okay,
happens
cool.
is irrelevant to
So
slavery, though.
in that time, it was okay for women to be property. It was even okay for women to be property in America up until what, the late 1800s, early 1900s. That was okay for that time. And so you're judging the time compared to where it was versus where
I'm
you
judging
are
the
now.
God who allowed these things to happen, who condoned these things.
He
It
It's
gave
doesn't
okay
he
for
make
them
it
to
gave he
exist.
gave
okay.
he gave
It
man
do-
dominion over the earth and let man decide what they was gonna do. And that's what we came up with.
No, he decided to allow slavery. He could have
Not,
condemned it,
if
and he
he
does in
gave
some
you
cases.
if he gave mankind dominion over earth, that means he let them decide how to govern themselves. And this is how we
Did
came to
God let
govern
man
ourselves.
decide his laws, or did God make up the laws himself?
He told man he told Israel specifically how to operate within themselves. Everybody else that was around, every other culture had
Okay,
another
well,
God that they
did
believed in.
God
So
give them laws, or did they give themselves laws?
to the Hebrew people
Yeah, so God
specifically,
gave them
yeah,
laws,
God gave
right?
them laws.
Okay, well, God gave them the law that says it is okay to own people as property, to sell your daughter as a sex slave, to take women and children as sex slaves in war. This is all stuff God said they could do. And whether it was back then, it's still not right. It's not right now, and it wasn't right then. It's bad, and it's slavery.
So God said it was okay to sell your kids into sex slavery.
Yes.
That's written. You can go where God says it's okay to sell your daughters for sex.
And if a man sells his daughter to be a female slave, she shall not go out as the male slaves do. If she does not please her master who has betrothed her in himself, then he shall let her be redeemed.
If he does not
Yeah.
read it slow again.
Let me oh, that was the new king. Sorry. I was about to say that was phrased weird. Let me get to the NRSV back here. All right. When a man sells his daughter as a slave, she shall not go out as the male slaves do. If she does not please her master who has designated her for himself, then he shall let her be redeemed. He shall have no right to sell her to a foreign people, since he has dealt unfairly with her.
And you're saying that's talking about sex.
It has
That's
to
talking
be.
About
He's designating
prostitution.
for himself. Yeah.
You saying
If she
that's
does
talking about
not please her
prostitution.
master, yes. Do you understand that if you bought a female slave and you own them, you could have sex with them if you want to, and they couldn't stop you. That's the whole point of selling your daughter. Whether you sell her as a slave or sell her as a virgin to a free man is two different things. But this is saying when you sell your daughter as a slave, she shall not go out as the male slaves do. And he is purchasing her as property And yes, he can
Hey,
do whatever
I
he
got a
wants with you.
question. I got a question for you,
Sure.
host. I know that you've had Dr. Josh Bowen up here on your stage. I've
Yeah,
had
he's the
multiple
best friend of the
conversations with.
channel.
Yeah, I've had multiple conversations with him. Did you know that he will say that the passage that you're reading there from Exodus 21, as strange as it seems to us, is actually a protection for women?
He won't say that.
He does say that. I can give you where he says it
He
at.
don't say that.
He,
He's on. I talk to him almost every stinking day,
I'll
and we
give
talk
you,
about this passage all the time. And he would not say that. I'll bet you
yes.
$1,000 right now he wouldn't say that.
Well, I mean, I don't think you'd want to take that bet because
I think he
I can
would.
prove to you where he says it at.
Well, prove it.
He says it in a podcast. You know, his wife co-hosts a podcast with Dr. Bart Ehrman. And Dr. Bart Ehrman
Yeah,
back in I believe the summer of 2023 or 2024, I can't remember which, interviewed Dr. Josh Bowen on his book and stuff, and they specifically talked about that. And he specifically said that this is, believe it or not, that this is actually a protection for the women during that time period.
I just can't. I literally can't fathom that God would say abhor prostitution, but say it was okay to sell your daughter into prostitution. Because
That's
it is.
please
It's
is
correct.
a
messed
That's
very
up.
correct,
general. Because
Asa.
please is a very general word. Please could mean if you don't serve me, if you don't serve my will, that doesn't necessarily mean sexual in
It
context. It
does.
please, I think that's a jump. Because
It's not because
okay,
it comes up a lot.
if you were to hire a butler and you want your butler to please you, I doubt you mean sexually. I think you would mean, hey, I want you to do the things that I asked you to
If
do
I
and do
hired a
them right.
butler, I would expect them to do the job I hired them to do, which is butler
Exactly.
stuff. If I
Exactly.
buy a female slave,
They
you're not making an
serve.
accurate comparison
They
at that
a
point.
female slave was a servant of the house. They
What does
did
it
whatever you
mean
told them to
when,
do.
okay, fine. So when it says he has dishonored her, what does that mean?
I
It
don't
says if
know.
she doesn't please her master, he can't sell her to a foreign people because he has dishonored her.
That I'm not sure.
That's because she's been violated. She has lost her virginity. She has lost the goods and the value because she's no longer a virgin. So listen to this pretty little passage here. This is Moses right after the battle of Midian. It says, "Now therefore kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman who has known a man by sleeping with him. But all of the young girls who have not known a man by sleeping with him, keep alive for yourselves." So what do you think these soldiers here would do with young virgins?
Yeah, they make them concubines. That I do understand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Make these young children virgins concubines.
I stand corrected on that. All right.
I'm telling you, it's messed up. And Deuteronomy. Hold on, let me read Deuteronomy. This is the rules of warfare that he gives. It says, "When you draw near to a town to fight against it, offer it terms of peace. If it accepts your terms of peace and surrenders to you, then all the people in it shall serve you as forced labor. But if it does not accept your terms of peace and makes war against you, then you shall besiege it. And when the Lord your God gives it into your hand, you shall put all its males to the sword. You may, however, take as your plunder the women, the children, the livestock, and everything else in that town, all its spoil. You may enjoy the spoil of your enemies that the Lord your God has given into your hand." And in the very next chapter, you get this one. "When you go out to war against your enemies, and the Lord your God hands them over to you and makes them your captive, suppose you see among the captives a beautiful woman whom you desire and want to marry. And so you bring her home to your house. You shall shave her head, pare her nails, discard her captive's garb, and remain in your house a full month, mourning her mother and father, whom you have just slaughtered. And after that, you may go into her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife." So this is literally just saying you can take them and grape them and make them your wife. And this is talking about children as well as adults. That's what I'm saying. This is nasty, nasty stuff. This is horrible, horrible stuff. Like, I don't understand why anybody would understand the context of what's happening with these kind of laws and stuff and not say this God is anything but evil. Like, that is
You
straight
know,
disgusting to me.
did you know that you're committing what's known as a presentism fallacy at the moment?
How so?
Presentism fallacy is where somebody looks at something like some sort of culture of the past or far removed from where they're at, and they make a moral judgment on it based on their understandings of societal norms today. And that's what
That's
atheists
exactly
do
what
when
I'm
they
doing.
look
But
at
what
the,
makes it not a
yeah,
fallacy is that you're talking
it is a,
about an all-knowing, all-powerful God who doesn't change. So this God, who you claim is all-loving and all-merciful,
well, I don't think God
allowed
does
this stuff
change.
to go on at any point, makes it disgusting, even by our modern standards.
I'm
Like,
going
you're
to say
saying morality
something.
is objective and God don't change, then you have to say this was okay.
I'm going to say something that is going to be viewed as controversial at the moment. That in a breakdown of society, and if we had some sort of catastrophic event where society broke down, I actually believe these things might actually be morally justified again and not have a problem with them.
Good luck with that shit.
We just benefit from living in Western society today that has been Christianized. We benefit from
Thank
the
fuck for that,
foundations of
because if I lived in
Christianity.
the days of this right here, I would be absolutely disgusted with life. I don't even know if I wanted to live if I had to see this shit going on around me.
Well, wait a sec. Wouldn't it be possible though that if you are a product of the culture you live in and believe the things that the culture believes, wouldn't you just have thought this was the norm and thought it was morally justified? Not had a problem with
Probably.
it. Okay, so it just so happens you're
Not saying I would, not
four
saying I wouldn't have. I wouldn't know.
four
If I was
thousand.
actually born there and that was just my lifestyle, I don't know. But there was plenty of people who knew this shit was wrong. The Jews themselves knew a lot of this shit was bad. That's why they
Okay.
stopped keeping his laws a lot, because they did not want to stone their children to death.
Well, let me
That
ask you
was
this.
sinning. That was not keeping God's laws.
Are you willing to admit that in the Bible there are women who actually seem to just simply go to the extremes to be part of this society and didn't seem to have a problem with it?
I don't know. Maybe.
Like you, um, Rahab,
There's all kind of crazy people in the Bible. That's
remember
not. I'm not.
Rahab? Yeah,
Yeah.
who hid the
Yeah.
spies? Yeah, and then you
Yeah.
had Ruth, who refused to go back to her own people and wanted to go with Naomi back to the culture that this would have been the law in. She said, "Your people will be my people, your God will be my God."
Yeah,
And
and at one point they
she
decided, hey, maybe we was better off being slaves in Egypt than out here trapped in the
and sh
desert. This sucks.
Ru-
So
and
like,
Ruth,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Well, that's actually, you make an interesting point here. The Egyptians, when they were in the famine, practically begged Joseph to buy them as slaves, and so did another group of people. So what I'm saying is we when we look at what was going on, when we read these things, then we see like Ruth, who is just willingly, openly participating in her literally being purchased with money. She's and her being happy about it, being joyful about it because she wanted so much to be part of Naomi's people, Naomi's God, and ultimately she's in the line of David. She's in the line of Jesus. She's mentioned in the genealogy of Jesus. So to me, when I see this, I don't think it was what we think it when we look today back at it. And admittedly, it does seem to be far removed from us, but I think we're making the wrong kind of judgment here. That's how I look at it.
well, the way I look at it is God told them to destroy every living, breathing thing in Jericho. And Rahab is the one who helped them into the city in the first place and allowed it all to happen. So they spared her. And God still got pissed and still punished them for that.
But our
Well,
government does that. Genghis Khan, the conqueror, did it. We
Yeah, but
praise
we're not talking about our
Alexander, who
government,
did it.
man. We're
We
talking
talk
about
about Caesar.
God. This is
But
God.
okay, and what makes it wrong for God to take people out of the earth? What makes that wrong?
Because it's murder.
How do you murder?
It's
How
an
do you?
unjustified killing. He punishes people, innocent people, for the sins that other people committed.
What do you mean? What are you talking about specifically?
Specifically, he punishes people who didn't have anything to do with the crime along with the guilty, and you're not supposed to do that. Even God himself says it's bad. In Deuteronomy, it
Even
says the son shall not
right,
be
the
punished
Bible,
for the sins of the father. But he
right.
does that himself. He
But
violates his own rules.
even Abraham said that to even Abraham said that to God. He said, "Surely you will not sweep away the righteous with the unrighteous."
Right.
Okay, and so God said
But he
that
does
that's true.
that.
How does he
Yeah, he
does
does
that?
it.
Where
Because he
did he do that?
unalives innocent babies.
Okay, if you believe in, okay, you were a Christian, you understand the original sin and how that passed on to every human being. Once you're born in sin and shaped in iniquity. How are
That's
you
not
therefore?
true.
How is that
According
not
to the
true?
New Testament, maybe.
How is that not true?
Well,
If
even in
you're
the New Testament, in Romans 5, it says that Jesus got rid of that curse of sin and
no
death
no
that
no
was
no
brought
no
on
no
to all
no no
mankind.
no, you're talking about Old Testament people dying. They were born from Adam,
Yeah.
right? And that's before Jesus. So
Yeah, but
if
in
that's
the Old
before
Testament,
Jesus,
there's
if
no
there's
inherited sin in the Old Testament. That if you break the law, if you sin in the Old Testament, the wage of sin isn't death. You can just pay a fine sometime.
no
That's not how
the
it
wages of
works.
sin,
That's Christian theology.
no, the wages of sin has always been death. He said,
No,
if
it's
you do,
not. The way
oh,
sin is breaking the
in
law. There's laws that if you break, you can pay a fine.
you
That's
die.
not death.
Right, he offered a way out, but the price of
There are
sin was
some
death.
sins that are
Okay, let me
capital
ask you a
crimes,
question.
yes,
Let me
but
ask you a
they are
question. Let me ask
not
you a question.
all death.
Let me
Okay.
ask you a question. What was Adam and Eve's consequence for eating from the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil?
They got kicked out of the garden, and females
They died.
hereafter were
They
made to
died, right?
suffer in
They
childbirth. Yeah.
died. They died, right?
Well, like 900 years later.
But that's death. Doesn't that
So,
imply that they had everlasting life, that they were immortal, that they weren't going to die?
wait, yeah, you could say they started off as immortal, but that don't matter.
Right,
They didn't
right. And
die for
so then
900 years.
and then through disobedience,
So what? They're just dead? Did
death
they go to
came.
hell?
That's
Did they go to hell?
I'm just asking you to follow my logic, because I'll be honest,
I've tried.
when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I have admitted it,
Right.
right? I just want the same
Yeah.
courtesy. Same courtesy. Okay,
No, I got you.
so when they ate from the tree, they died, right? That's how death came into the
No, they
world.
died 900 years later.
But that's death still, no matter how long
You
it
can
took.
say they brought death into the world, but that still doesn't mean that sin isn't breaking the law, and it still doesn't
That's not
mean
my
that if you
point. My
break the
point,
law, it's death every single time.
no, that's not my point. My point is to address the
I know
fact
you're
that you
trying to
see,
say,
no,
I see
no,
what
no.
you're trying to say,
Let
but
me
it's irrelevant
let
because
me
I'm
say
talking
let me
about
say
punishing the
can
innocent for the
can
sins
you
of the guilty.
can you let me say what I'm trying to say? You
Yeah, I
said
thought you did. Sorry, go ahead.
no. You said that the wages of sin isn't death, that you have to pay a fine. And I'm saying, even with Adam
Yeah,
and Eve, when they first sinned, it immediately caused death. There was no fine for them to pay. They died. And humanity since have died. And so that was coming from the line of Adam. And so when you sin, the wages of that was death, but him and God, him, by who I mean him, God, in his kindness afforded a way to atone for that sin through sacrifice, through offering, through tithing,
it
and
wasn't
et cetera, et
atoned
cetera.
for if you still die.
No, you die. You die because it's appointed to every man to die.
I
That's
didn't
why
die.
we
I'm
all
alive.
you're
It,
gonna
the
die
best
someday.
argument you're making
You're
is
going
that
to
they
die
brought life.
someday.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. So you're saying, you're making the argument here that they basically, what you're actually saying is they brought lifespans into the world. So now
They
we're
brought
born and we're going to die at some point, right?
through
But you
through
sin in
sin.
between a whole lot, and you're going to die anyway.
Yeah,
So you
through
see what I'm getting at?
through sin came death, right?
Yeah.
That's what it says. That's what it literally
Okay.
says.
So what happens if you
And
sin in the meantime?
you still dying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it came with it. It came with the price of
Right.
life. Yeah.
Okay, so when God unalives innocent people for the crimes of other people, that is injustice.
How is that
It is
injustice?
immoral and it's evil
How
because
is
they
that
are
unjust?
innocent of the crime. Because they
Okay,
are innocent of the crime.
if a king, if an earthly king kills their subject, it's unjust.
Bye,
It
Matt.
depends on why.
Okay, it depends on the reason why. That's it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, murder is unjustified or unlawful unaliving.
Okay, does God have a reason to kill anybody?
Yeah, he gives the reason.
Yeah, because we break his law. So how is he therefore unjust to do it?
How does a baby break the law?
Because it was innocent.
How does a baby break the law?
I can't say that they did. I can just say they're born in sin, like we all do, and they have to
Right, so
die.
they're punished. They're punished for being born
How are they punished?
by being
Because
unalived.
they're unalived after being made sick for a week and suffering.
I mean, it's just easy to say. Even when I was a Christian, I said I didn't understand why God allowed this. I was honest, right? I didn't try to make excuses. I said, I don't know why God allows children to be trafficked and abused and unalived. I don't know why he does. It's just crazy to me that he would allow this. I didn't have an answer for it, but I definitely questioned it.
What if the
Hey,
question
speaking of
is
Dr.
why? What if
Josh,
the question? What if the question is why do we allow it? We put
hey,
it
just
on
a
him,
second. Let
and
me see
we
if
because you want free will, but
Dr.
it's
Josh, there's
mankind that
just a
allows
guy
it.
up here. Just
Oh,
a second,
man.
servant. Hold on a second.
And no
Dr.
degree
Josh
just
just came
dropped
in.
down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
speak of
he's
the devil here.
bragging. He's
So
bragging.
somebody
Did
was
you
just
see all the
saying,
bragging he did in the chat?
I think,
So, Dr. Josh, scroll
wait,
up
is
and
it still
read
in there?
no degree and what he said about you in the chat.
Damn it. He, let me look, I'm saying, I guess he had to leave, but wow, that was
He actually
convenient
says,
timing.
yeah, he says, look, Dr. Josh Bowen agrees with me. So, atheist,
Yeah,
you
he's
can
not
rest
here.
assured I'm correct. Did he leave?
No, no, bro. Man, he left right on time, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Sorry, servant. What were you saying there?
I don't remember. Just trying to see what y'all was talking about. Oh, I kind of lost my point in
Well,
all
we
of
was
that.
talking about God unaliving the baby, David and Bathsheba's infant son. But it tells why he did it. He does it because David screwed up. He says David has sinned, and he says, "So I'll put away your sin, and you won't be harmed." But the baby's got to go, so he makes the baby sick for a week and unalives it. But the baby obviously didn't have nothing to do with that sin. So God is punishing the innocent, the son, for the sin of the father, which he says is a bad thing. So that just makes God like a hypocrite or something. And a psycho because he's a baby killer.
It's a punish. Okay, it's a punishment for the baby.
Yeah, he makes it sick for a week and then it dies.
Okay, and if the baby would have continued to live and grow, that would have been a constant reminder to Bathsheba of the rape that happened to her.
Well, like what? In case she forgets.
I, I'm trying to understand the logic. You saying he said he killed the baby and let it suffer and all of that, and
He made it sick for a week. In verse
a baby
15, it
dying is a
says,
sad
it
thing.
says
A
yeah,
baby
but
dying is a
God
sad
took it
thing.
out himself. He personally did the deed. He made it suffer for a week. He didn't even just say, like, hey, I'm sorry, but the baby's got to go. He could have just, like, poofed the baby out of existence or something. Like, he made it suffer first. Like, why the suffering? Like, why? The unaliving's bad enough. But he made it suffer too. Like, this is clearly evil.
Yeah,
Clearly.
yeah, for sure.
It was unnecessary suffering that he caused, and he caused it on a baby, an innocent baby. It can't get any worse than this, man. Except when he does it to a whole bunch of babies, that's worse, but different chapter.
What do you mean? What we did to babies is infinitely worse. We kill babies all the
No,
time.
this
We
says
kill
God
babies
did
We
all
it.
the
gotta we
time.
gotta
Even to,
watch saying the KILL word. Say
Oh,
unalive.
I'm sorry. We babies are
she might have been
unalive
talking
all
to
the
me
time.
then.
Sorry. No, it was both of us. It was both of us. It was me
That's what I
mostly.
was saying.
It was me mostly.
I think I might have said it too.
My bad. But no, babies are unalived all the time, even in our present day. And back then it was even worse because it was a sacrifice to false gods that it was done. And he said, "You shall not do this."
It depends on where you read. In some verses, he says, "You shall do this,"
So you're
but like,
comparing a deity, an all-powerful deity, with us humans. I don't think that's
What do you mean I'm
right.
comparing?
Yeah, you're saying, well, we do it all the time. Well, we're humans.
So we
God isn't
excuse.
human. God
So
is supposed to be
you can
love.
excuse it. You can excuse it when it's you, but when God do it,
Yeah, he's
it's.
supposed to be the God of love.
He
we're
says
not excusing when
he
people do it. That's just not what we're talking about.
actually it
Right,
says
right.
that it says he's a warrior God. He's and that he wars. It says that. It doesn't just say that
But
he's
Yeah,
it
all
says he's
love.
a God
yeah.
of love.
He's
There's
he's
a whole lot of
all.
wars in the book. Like God orders wars.
Right,
Like
right.
he
If you
makes
killing me
them.
with the jokes,
So it's not jokes. I'm just saying it's
you
funny.
killing me with the ad libs. Like it's all of them. All right, I get it. I'm not disputing that. But what I'm saying is, when it comes to God, it's this judgment. It's this judgmental entitlement that he shouldn't be allowed to do that. He's love, but we do it all the time, and we should be
Yeah,
excused because we're
no.
human.
Yeah, but you're saying he's like some kind of divine standard for this stuff, man. Like you can't look up to somebody who says love your neighbor, and then in the next sentence says eat your neighbor. Like it's horrible. Like it
He
doesn't work
doesn't,
like
but
that.
he doesn't. He's
Exactly.
never said eat your neighbor. Actually,
Yes, he has.
What? Yes.
eat your neighbor.
Yes. Yeah, eat your
Oh
kids.
my god, have you read this book?
No, you talking about New Testament Jesus saying love your neighbor, but you're comparing that to to what's written in the Old Testament when God said that you
That
will
is
as
in
a
the Old
punishment,
Testament, man.
as
Love
a
your
punishment.
neighbor as yourself is literally
It's
Levitic
from
law.
the
It's
old,
from Leviticus
yeah, it's
Okay,
from
chapter
the Old
19, verse
Testament.
18.
but he
It's
says
Levitic
but
law.
right, but he says in the punishment you will eat you will eat your children out of starvation.
No, he makes them do that when he has Jerusalem sieged by Nebuchadnezzar. Here, I'll read it to
He
you real quick.
he said
Hold on.
I'm going to
Hold on, I'm
make
going to
you
read it.
eat your children. Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to read it to you. Listen. So when he sends Nebuchadnezzar, his servant, to destroy Jerusalem and enslave Israel, this is part of the proclamation that he makes against Israel. And it says, I will make this city a horror, a thing to be hissed at. And everyone who passes by it will be horrified and hiss because of all its disasters. It says, I will make them eat the flesh of their sons and the flesh of their daughters, and all shall eat the flesh of their neighbors in the siege and in the distress of which their enemies and those who seek their life afflict them. And then you scroll down to this fun little part. It says, Thus says the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, I am now bringing upon this city and all its towns all the disasters that I have pronounced against it. So he's like literally pronouncing horrible shit, and then he's literally saying, I'm making all this horrible shit I said was going to happen. So it's like, it's literal, and it happened. He made them eat their kids and their neighbors.
Yep. Just for everybody to see how powerful he is.
And it backs that up in Lamentations too, when it's given like an inside description of the city. It literally asks that as a question. It says, why are mothers eating their children, the child that they have bore? It's like he's literally making them do this. In the siege of Jerusalem, yeah. Because he's mad because they stopped keeping his laws and stuff. And they were sacrificing children to the wrong gods.
This is
So he
why
makes them eat their own children.
Marcion was considered a heretic in the 2nd century because he recognized this evil God. He was like, there's no way this evil God of this Hebrew Bible is the same as the one in the New Testament. These are two different deities. And they call him a
Right, and
heretic.
there's a lot of outside sources too that refer to the God of Israel, like even against like people who were against Christianity, like Celsus. like all of them referred to the God of Israel as the horrible and awful, unjust God of Israel. Like even God, Yahweh had one of the worst reputations for being a cruel God,
Yeah.
even in the ancient world.
Yep.
Let's see, let me get to.
That's why Christians, when they become followers of Jesus, are encouraged to stay out of the Old Testament and to just read the New Testament.
Yeah, no, I read them both. I disagree with that. I've read them both.
It says, the Lord has done what he has purposed. He has carried out his threat. He has ordained long ago. He has demolished without pity. He has made the enemy rejoice over you and exalted the might of your foes. Cry aloud to the Lord, the wall of Jerusalem. Let tears stream down like a torrent day and night. Give yourself no rest, your eyes no respite. Arise and cry out in the night at the beginning of the watches. Pour out your heart like water before the presence of the Lord. Lift your hands to him for the lives of your children who faint for hunger at the head of every street. Look, O Lord, and consider, to whom have you done this? Should women eat their offspring, the children they have borne? Should priest and prophet be unalived in the sanctuary of the Lord? The young and the old are lying on the ground in the streets. My young women and my young men have fallen by the sword. In the day of your anger, you have unalived them, slaughtering without mercy. You invited my enemies from all around as for the day of festival, and on the day of the Lord, on the day of the anger of the Lord, no one escaped or survived. Those whom I born and reared, my enemy has destroyed. That's a first-hand account from inside the city when God brings about all his threats that he made.
And you said this was because they were sacrificing babies to another god, and so, and if I'm understanding the context, because they were sacrificing babies to a god which he ordained them not to do in the first place, in punishment he made them eat their own young. That's what I'm understanding.
That's part of it, yeah.
Okay.
But they stopped keeping his laws. They wouldn't do what he was telling them. He warned them. He's like, look, I told y'all to offer those kids to me, and you're offering them to other gods. You have turned to the other gods. You're keeping other gods' laws.
That's
and you're
intellectually
sacrificing to other
dishonest.
gods.
Hey,
No,
he
it's
never
not.
ordered people to sacrifice their kids.
Yes, he did. You may
He
read
told
that
them,
too.
do not. He told them, do not do this. It is
Well,
evil. It is the practice of the other nations.
Nope.
read it to him.
Not
Okay,
true.
go ahead.
I freaked out
Go
when
ahead.
I saw it too.
Yeah, Exodus 22. This is part of the laws right after the slave laws and stuff and property laws. This is a social and religious law. And it says, you shall not delay to make offerings from the fullness of your press and from your harvest and from the outflow of your presses. The firstborn of your sons you shall give to me. You shall do the same with your oxen and with your sheep. 7 days it shall remain with its mother, and on the 8th day you shall give it to me. And then you jump to Ezekiel, and he explains this. He says, moreover, I gave them statutes that were not good, and ordinances by which they could not live. I defiled them through their very gifts and their offering up of the firstborn, in order that I might horrify them, so that they might know that I am the Lord. So he was like literally making them do this.
So you're not.
He
So
says
you're
he
not.
loves the smell of the burning flesh.
So let's deal with the first part. He said, "You will offer your children up to me." That wasn't for sacrifice.
Yeah, that's what an offering is. It's a sacrifice.
Yes.
It is.
Along
It is
with
not.
the
It
animal.
is not. And I can prove it.
It
When Hannah had Samuel, she offered him up to the service of God. There was an offering to God, her firstborn son, and that was not sacrifice. Samuel became a prophet.
Just because he said don't do it once doesn't mean that
It's
wasn't
the
a law.
scholarly consensus that this is a sacrificial offering. It's the scholarly consensus of this.
That God that said not to offer your children and kill your children to a God would then
To
have
other
his
gods.
people
To other gods. It was, he didn't want them doing it to other gods.
Show me that it says that he didn't want them to do it to other gods. Because you went from that to jump into Ezekiel. But he said, your sons will belong to me. Then why didn't he have Abraham offer Ishmael? Why didn't he have Jacob offer Reuben up as a sacrifice?
It's
why
right
were
here.
they allowed
when
to
you
grow?
offer your
That's
gifts
why he
and make
had
your
Abraham
children,
do Isaac.
He didn't.
When you
Isaac didn't
offer your
die.
gifts and make your children pass through the fire, you defile yourself with all your idols to this day, and shall I be consumed by you, O house of Israel? As I live, says the Lord, I will not be consulted by you. They're making the children pass through the fire. That is sacrifice,
That
my man.
that was them doing it to their god of Molech,
I,
not to
all right, hold
Yahweh.
on. I'm going to read it
Okay,
again.
go.
Moloch isn't a god. Moloch's a sacrifice ritual. Moloch
Yes,
isn't a god.
that's correct. It's not a
So,
god.
all right, listen real close. This is God. This is Ezekiel talking for God here. And it says, moreover, I gave them statutes that were not good, and ordinances by which they could not live. I defiled them through their very gifts and their offering up all their firstborn in order that I might horrify them. He's literally saying he got pissed and made them give their child as offerings. They had to pass through the fire, and he did it to defile and horrify them.
He even says he loves the smell of burning flesh.
That was the animal sacrifice.
Really?
Let me read it
Okay.
again. We'll read it as many times as it
Okay.
takes. When
Where's
you
the?
offer
No,
your
no, no.
gifts and make your
Can you give me the
children pass
passage?
through the fire, you defile yourselves with the idols to this day.
Can you give me the passage?
Yeah, that's Ezekiel 20. And verse 31 is the part where it says, you will make your children pass through the fire. Katrina, did you see Dan McClellan's video on this?
No, I
By
didn't.
chance?
What is it?
He made a really. He actually says that. He says it's not a majority consensus among scholars, but he said he and many, many others are firmly in the camp that this is absolutely referring to child sacrifice.
Yeah, it's in his book. It's in his book that I read. That's why I said that.
Oh, I got. Well, that was a okay. You just did see the video. Maybe I should read the book. But yeah, he definitely says this is about child sacrifice.
No. Okay.
But
okay, you're saying he in the punishment to Israel made them sacrifice their children, right? Not that this was the norm. Not that this was the norm.
Sorta. It's a little more complicated
Okay.
than that.
That's my mistake. I thought you were saying that that was the norm for him, but if you're saying he did it as a punishment to them, I'm not going to argue with that. That's plain.
Well,
But
that's what Ezekiel says. Hold on, I'll explain it to you. So, from a contextual and like scholarly standpoint and the timeline, if you're just kind of viewing this as somebody who reads the Bible, it might not make as much sense. But if you know about like timelines and like scholarly perspectives on stuff, it'll make
Yeah, like
sense.
how
But
multiple
anyway,
prophets existed at the same time and stuff like that. Yeah.
sort of, yeah. Well, there's no univocal voice in the Bible. That means there's a whole bunch of different people talking, giving different perspectives. But here's what's actually happening from a scholarly standpoint. So Exodus is just straight up God giving a law that says, you shall give your firstborn sons to me. This is literally just a law saying God saying you have to offer your firstborns, right? So Ezekiel comes along later, and Ezekiel is acknowledging this. He's saying that's what happened. But Ezekiel is saying that God did it in order to horrify them. So he's sort of trying to justify it by making it into a punishment, is what Ezekiel's doing. But then you get to like Jeremiah, and Jeremiah straight up says that it never entered God's mind that they sacrificed the children to him. They were sacrificing them to other gods, is why he got angry. So it depends on who you're asking. But in Exodus, this is just straight up God saying, sacrifice your firstborn to me. Ezekiel is saying, yes, he said that, but he's doing it because he's mad at them, to horrify them, is why he's telling them to do it. And then Jeremiah comes along, sort of roughly the same time as Ezekiel. But Jeremiah is saying, no, this didn't enter God's mind that they should do that. But that's just a progression of different books and different time periods and stuff like that. Different perspectives. So it depends on who you ask, kind of.
No, I hear you. That Exodus thing I'm kind of confused on, but yeah, as far as Ezekiel and Jeremiah saying that, like this was his punishment for the ways that they was acting, I can see that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He's attempting to justify it, but he's acknowledging that God did tell them to sacrifice their firstborn child to him. And here's the apologetic you usually get for Exodus 22 here. They usually say that this means redeemed and not offered. And that's because in other passages, through the progression of time, they kind of altered these parts where God is saying to do this sacrifice. Instead of offering, they're saying to redeem, right? But the problem is that if this means redeem in order that you dedicate a child to the Lord, then it doesn't make much sense that you have to do the same thing with an ox and a sheep. You know what I mean? Like, that's the part that kind of ruins that apologetic there. But most, even Bible scholars, do acknowledge this is absolutely a law of Yahweh, saying, and there's archaeological evidence to back this up too, believe it or not, that they were sacrificing children to Yahweh. Absolutely. And it's an order in Exodus, or a law, whatever, commandment to do it. Rough stuff. That's what I'm saying. When you actually break this open and start reading into the stuff, Yahweh is usually not the God Christians envision him to be. And it becomes quite clear on some basic readings of some of these books here. Right, sir? Guess he muted out there. But yeah, these ain't even like, most of the stuff's not even like isolated incidents. Like, he has babies bashed to pieces and pregnant women ripped open constantly. Let's see. Like in the proclamation against Babylon here, it says their infants will be dashed to pieces before their eyes, their houses will be plundered, and their wives will be raped. Then that's the proclamation against Babylon.
Even David's wives were raped in public for something he did. So
Yeah.
he likes punishing other people for something that somebody else did, even though
But
it
Patricia,
says
that's not
that
true. That's
but
not true. His son
it says that
Absalom did that to him because he was angry at him. You're saying that out of context. That was what Absalom did to
It's not out of
David.
context.
huh?
No, it's not.
Yeah, that's what Absalom did to David. That
God
wasn't.
makes him do it. He declares it in chapter 12 of Samuel.
What
He
and what
said
about
the
the
sword
wives?
would
The
never
wives had
depart
nothing
from
to
his
do with
house.
it. The wives had nothing to do with it. Why were they punished?
That was Absalom's doing.
Yeah,
Why
but
were the
because God
wives
made him
punished?
do it.
So why were the wives punished for something he did?
What you saying? Why was the
The
wife?
Bible
I'm
He's
saying that
saying
specifically
was
they
says,
weren't being
Absalom's
punished for
choice to
that. He's
do.
just saying that was Absalom doing it later. He don't know the context of chapter 12, so that question's not going to make as much sense to him yet. Anyway, let me read you the passage from
I'm
chapter
sorry, my
12 here.
connection went out. I'm back.
Oh, you're all right. I was just going to say, listen to the verse from chapter 12 here. It says, "Thus says the Lord, I will raise up trouble against you from your own house, and I will take your wives before your eyes and give them to your neighbor, and he shall lie with your wives in broad daylight." So God is ordering that to take place. And then in chapter 16 is when Absalom launches a coup and he grapes 10 of David's wives in the tent as a show of force. But God is literally taking responsibility for making that happen in chapter 12, verse 11 there.
Okay.
See what I mean? It's all bad. Like, it's really, really rough. Like, this is... this is not like not just pretty stuff. It's not even like this is just ugly. Like, this is just straight up evilness. Like, he's having women raped, he's having babies bashed to pieces for stuff that they had absolutely nothing to do with, man. This is horrible, horrible stuff.
Okay.
guys, let's get these lights up.
Can I? Let me ask you one more
Your
question.
microphone is muffled.
Okay. Can you
There
hear
you
me
go.
better?
Oh, let's go.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. All right. So I guess this will probably be my last question. If considering everything you're saying, what is God supposed to be like? Is because I
He's supposed
like
to
a
be
lot of
all
what
loving and all
let me
merciful.
let,
Like I
let me
said,
say,
like there's horrible stuff I would even accept if there was maybe like some sort of justification, but like there is stuff in here that you
not
can't
that he was
even come
punishing
close to
David because of what,
justifying.
not because he was punishing David for what David did. He took somebody else's wives and raped them, so he had his wives raped.
Well, 10 of them, but they had nothing to do with it. And he made the baby sick for a week. And then it died. Like, he's making a baby, an innocent baby, suffer for a week and die because of something David did. And David didn't get a single scratch on him. It specifically says the Lord put away David's sin and he punishes everybody else. Like, this is not good. He's punishing them with rape and murder. It's awful, awful stuff.
That'd be like him punishing me for something my husband did.
But my thing is that happens all the time. People get punished for the actions of others because your choices never affect just you. In any case, I just don't get why we get upset that it's that God deems it fit for that to happen. I understand the justice for the other people. That I get. I just don't get why it's like, oh, God is so bad because he allows
Because
this.
God is supposed to be the standard. I thought he was the standard. Like, I grew up thinking God was love and mercy, and this is
Yeah.
clearly not either of those.
Yeah. If I had all power, I definitely would not take out justification on somebody else, somebody that's innocent, and say, well, just because you know this person and you're living with this person in the same household, I'm going to make you suffer. I mean,
Like,
that's
especially after
guilty
you
by
say it's
association.
bad. Yeah, and he said, after he said this is bad, he said it is bad to punish a son for the sins of the father. And then that's exactly what he's doing. He's saying it's bad and then doing it.
Here's me. I just don't see how it's the same God that tells you he loves you, and y'all like, oh, okay, yeah, I get that part. He's true in that part, but he's unfair here.
Well, I'm saying, why take it serious when he's violating his own standards? Like, I would think, like, a good standard of a good leader is that he embodies the qualities that you would expect from a all loving, all justified, merciful leader. You know what I mean?
And Jesus didn't do that.
Oh no, Jesus wasn't even a prophet.
You said he wasn't what?
I can give you more problems I have with Jesus too.
No. I'm saying, did he embody the characteristics of a good leader?
Who, Jesus?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Well, in one of his parables, he said he gave a parable about how a king went away and all of his servants were left behind to do certain things. And when he came back, some of the servants didn't do what they were supposed to do. So he said, I want you to bring all those servants before me and slaughter them in front of me.
Yeah, that's from Luke chapter 19.
I was blown away when I read that. I was like, what? Slaughter them
He's
in
talking
front of
about
me just
himself.
because they
Yeah,
didn't
it's a
obey you?
reciprocal
Yeah,
parable.
he's
Yeah,
the
he's talking
king.
about himself.
He's the king in the story.
And it's perfectly okay when human kings do that.
It's Jesus, man.
No.
No,
My
it's
question
not
is,
okay when...
I mean,
Like, I can just... There's insight into Jesus's mind. Like, that line she was saying, it says, but as for these enemies of mine who did not want me to rule over them, bring them here and slaughter them in my presence. That's like Jesus
enemies.
literally saying that.
Enemies because they disobeyed.
It's Jesus.
They set
Slaughter
themselves
them.
against
Jesus
you.
is saying, slaughter them in my presence.
Not
What
forgive
happened to
them
the
70
turn the other
times
cheek and
7.
stuff?
Yeah, not forgive them 70 times 7, but instead let's slaughter them this time.
That's in my opinion, that's the most pathetic chapter in the entire Bible about Jesus.
Y'all jump in the context.
No, I'm
Like
not.
it ain't, and I'm gonna be honest. The way y'all frame it, it sounds good. I ain't gonna lie, it sounds good. But me having read it
trying
myself,
to make it
Old
sound
Testament
horrible.
and New Testament, it y'all are jumping. He's like, oh, he said forgive 70 times 7, but then he takes vengeance on his enemies, who he's probably forgiven at some point, and still set themselves against him.
Did he
He
forgive them
forgave them
after he
that's
slaughtered them?
after he
It's like, how's
unalived them.
that
He
wrong?
forgave them. After
gotta be
he put
afterwards,
wrath and judgment on them, he forgave them. Let's not
What,
forgive them before, so they can still live and have a life.
what he does? Okay, because let's say them servants he's talking about, in a sense, is humankind, right? In humankind, he's offered forgiveness. And he's like, okay, for those who set themselves against me, who disobey, who didn't want to accept, who didn't, slaughter them. Because they are setting themselves against me and they want no parts. And a king who rules his kingdom, that's fair. That's actually what you do, right or wrong.
Not if you're full of love. Not if you're telling everybody, don't take vengeance on people, forgive people 70 times 7, and then you turn
Never
around and do
resist
the
an
opposite.
evildoer.
Yeah, but that's the
Yeah,
same. That's the same God that said, "Vengeance is mine." He said, "You don't take vengeance." He said, "I will repay." That's the same
right.
God.
Yeah, he's putting wrath upon people that disobey.
Right, that's his, but that's his responsibility to do so. He said, I tell you, as a citizen, as somebody who doesn't rule here, don't take vengeance upon people.
Right. Do as I say, not as I do.
Your government tells you that today. It says, hey,
Yes.
don't take
Yeah.
vengeance upon other people, call the
Yeah.
authorities, and we'll do it for you. It's the same.
Do as I say. Do as I say, not as I do.
Because you have no authority to do it.
Wow.
Only Jesus has the authority to slaughter here. So, do you think what?
It's a fallacy. It's a God that is vengeful cannot be loving. But we're vengeful as people. We're made in the same image. We're vengeful
he
as
can't
people,
be
and we
all
claim to be
loving.
loving.
He
That
can't
is
be
all
all
loving.
loving. No,
It
it's
depends
not.
on how you define love. If you think love is a position,
I
you
define
take to stick
all
somebody
loving
high.
as you love everybody. So unless you're going to argue this is the type of love, like I love you and that's why I have to kill you now, then this isn't love.
That's why I have to punish you, because you don't die.
By slaughtering
Everybody's
me?
gonna live. Everybody's gonna live forever, right? It's just where you're gonna live, right?
No.
No,
No.
that's not. So this is not true. So this the lake of fire burn for eternity. And what will the people? Will the people
That's
cast
an
in there be
imaginary.
burning?
That's imaginary boogeyman made to scare.
No, we're
simpletons
going
and
by
small
what's
children.
written in the book.
The lake of fire is only mentioned in the book of Revelation.
Okay.
And that book of Revelation is all symbols and metaphors and idioms. It's not literal. The dragon's not literal. The horse sitting on the dragon's not literal. The lake of fire is not literal. None of it's literal. It's all symbols.
So what does Gehenna mean?
Gehenna was a valley outside of Jerusalem in the 1st century where they threw bodies of people that were burnt, that were unalived on the cross. They were refused burial because that was part of their punishment, and their bodies would stink up the city, so they'd throw them in this valley and set them on fire to get rid of them. Why was it eternal? It was eternal because when you're thrown in a fire, you don't come back.
And how did Jesus speak of it?
Yeah, Jesus was warning the disciples and all the people in that generation, believe me when I tell you, when you see the army surround Jerusalem, get out of the city and flee the mountains, because if you don't, the gate will be shut in the city, you'll be trapped inside, and you will be thrown in that fire.
That I thought he said it is better for you, because that's the verse I'm talking about. It is better for you to
Cut
take
your
out
hand off.
eye than to be cast into Gehenna, right?
It is better.
Right, but that's not the same. Right, because
Yeah,
of
of
punishment.
course.
Because of
Yeah,
punishment, right? And he
yeah.
said there'll be an everlasting punishment.
Well, it's everlasting because you don't come back
Well,
from
you're
being
dead
thrown into
forever.
a fire. This is all about the Roman Jewish war.
So,
Jesus was
so when
warning
he,
about a war that was coming, a great day of wrath that was coming upon that city.
so in the context, when he says everlasting, in that context, it's because you died. But when he calls himself everlasting, it's not because he lives forever. It's for the context of that moment.
Huh?
Everlasting is everlasting, right? That means it does not stop. That fire of Gehenna, the place, is gonna stop. It's not gonna burn
No,
forever. It's probably
no.
not burning
When
now.
you are thrown in it, when you are thrown in that, it's everlasting. You don't come back from it. It's
Okay,
forever.
okay, okay. All right. I, I stand down. I stand down.
Well,
Yeah, just
like in the ancient world, having a proper burial was extremely important.
was,
If you didn't
yes.
have a proper burial, you didn't have an afterlife at all. Like you
Yes,
had no
that's
chance
correct.
to even try to get somewhere. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's why one of my
Yep.
favorite philosophers, I don't know if you ever heard of Diogenes, but there was a guy who supposedly asked him one time. They said, "So if you don't have any friends, like who's going to take you and bury you when you die?" He
Mm-hmm.
said, "Whoever wants the house."
Yep.
Because he didn't believe
Yeah,
in the
so just
afterlife. He's like, what's the point?
go back and look what Jesus was teaching the entire time. He even said, daughters of Jerusalem, as he's carrying his cross, don't weep for me. Weep for yourselves and for your children, for you will see the wrath to come. He was warning them about a great wrath that was coming upon them, a great day of judgment, which was through the Roman soldiers in 70 AD. They burned down their temple and their entire city. It became a desolation. That's the abomination of desolation.
Absolutely. And then it says right after that, it says, immediately after the suffering of those days, the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light and the stars will
Mm-hmm.
fall from heaven and the powers of heaven will be shaken. So
Mm-hmm.
according to Jesus, the coming of the Son of Man, the end of the age, the day of judgment was supposed to happen immediately after the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when the city was destroyed and it was burnt, it blotted out the sun from the smoke. It made the moon turn red, just like the fires in Canada did. So yeah, it really happened.
Yep. Well, the tribulation happened. The coming of the Son of Man didn't happen. That's a failed
Yeah.
prophecy. But that's why we know it failed, because Jesus says immediately after the suffering of those days. So he was saying the coming of the Son of Man was supposed to happen immediately after the destruction of the temple. And it even says, truly I tell you, this generation will not pass away until all these things have taken place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. Like that was the end of the age. That's what they were asking him about. This says,
How many
when
people
is all
was
these things going to
reported?
happen?
How many people was reported seeing Jesus after his death and resurrection?
I don't know.
That's not
Paul
his
says
coming with
500.
yeah, that's not his coming with his angels and his rewards to reward every man for their works.
Okay,
Jesus
so
never
This
talked
is the
Jesus never
resurrection.
talked about his
This is referring
resurrection.
to the coming of the Son of Man.
So
Right.
then, by context, there's another coming. It's
No.
not a failed
Yeah, it's
prophecy.
about,
There's
well,
another one that's coming.
well, no. This is a separate part of that story. This is about the coming of the Son of Man. So Jesus dies and then resurrects, and then he's gone for a while, and then all this stuff happens. But Jesus, while he was alive and before he resurrected, said that the temple is going to be thrown down. It's going to be completely destroyed. Flee to the mountains. You better get the hell out of Jerusalem because it's going down. And then he says, right after that, it says, immediately after the suffering of those days, the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light, and the trumpets are going to
And
sound, and this is the second coming. This is the actual second coming, is what the coming of the Son of Man is. But this is the end of the age, the day of judgment. And clearly, this didn't happen.
and he actually told them that he would return before they would finish going through all the towns of Israel and before some of them standing in front of him would die. he would return. He actually said, what is
Yeah.
it to you, Peter, if I let John remain alive until I return? What is it to you? It's none of your business.
That's why some people think all this was already fulfilled, like it was already done, because clearly the temple was destroyed in 70 AD.
Yeah.
But I separate that in verse 29. I say this is the part of the prophecy that failed because immediately after those days. So I think he's separating that destruction from the actual second coming, is why I'm saying it wasn't fulfilled in full anyway, at minimum. Because it was supposed to happen immediately after the
Yeah.
suffering of
If
those days. That
Jesus,
should have been
if
the end, the
Jesus,
day of judgment.
yes, if Jesus himself was supposed to return physically, then it's a false prophecy.
Exactly.
And Flavius Josephus even goes on to try to confirm this, that this all was part of this, by saying during the war in 70 AD, when the temple was being destroyed, above the temple were horses and chariots and men in battle array prancing amongst the clouds, and great voices, multitude of voices were heard coming from heaven saying, let us remove hence. And all kinds of these supernatural signs took place during the temple destruction. So Josephus was even trying to collaborate with this, even though I believe all that's phony jizz.
Yeah, and he clearly didn't think Jesus did this either because he wasn't a Christian.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so Josephus never thought Jesus actually achieved any of this.
Yeah, he thought Vespasian was the Messiah.
I think he kind of had to.
Uh-huh.
I can always picture Vespasian be like, Josephus, who's your Messiah? Josephus would be like, you.
Yeah, I'll adopt
Oh,
your
man.
name. I'll become a Flavian.
Yeah, hell yeah, well. That's pretty cool, though. But anyway, Servant, you got anything else or comment to add there?
Nah, man, y'all got it. Y'all got it, brother. I appreciate you letting me ask my questions, though. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming
No
up. You've
problem,
been a
man.
great
That might have
guest.
been yeah, for real. That might have been the longest any single person has stayed up here.
No, I mean, I got more I want to say. I just don't. I don't feel like I'm gonna get anywhere, and that's okay. It's okay. Everybody has their own opinions, but I appreciate y'all having me up. I truly do.
Hey, if you want to learn some more, I've got a playlist on all of this, the last days and this generation and stuff. Go to my page and look through my playlist if you want.
For sure, shoot me a follow. To be honest, don't do that because I just started using TikTok, so I really don't know how to. So if you could tell me,
No.
Well,
that's
if you go to my page, I have a little video that says playlist, and I'm talking it, and I'm explaining where my playlist is. You'll see me.
okay. Cool. Thanks again, guys.
And if you go to my actual page, I've got like a little skit I do with myself about Jesus telling them that the that the coming of the Son of Man is going to happen in their lifetime. It's kind of funny. You might check that out too. But I'm biblically accurate, even though I'm making it like kind of goofy. You might like it.
Now I'm curious.
But,
I have to watch that.
What? You haven't watched? I've actually made two of them like that, but
I
they're
haven't
really
watched
funny.
it.
But yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I'll
watch it
check it
real
out.
quick and let me know what you think. I'm about to have to jump off anyway. I got to go get started cleaning out my koi pond for the season because I'm about to move my operation back out. Was you here when I used to do my show on the porch, on my back porch?
No.
Oh, I got like a koi pond and stuff back there. So
I
normally
love
when I
it.
started doing my show, you could see all my fish swimming around behind me and shit. But I got to figure out how to type stuff on the screen without the background before I do that again.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
But
I'm excited.
But yeah, watch so I got two little videos I made where I'm acting like Jesus and the disciples. Like I got one where the
Okay.
one's about the second coming where I'm quoting Matthew 10 and 16 and 24. But I got another
Okay.
one where I'm talking about Jesus being God that's pretty goofy like that too. But yeah,
Okay,
they're
yeah,
not
I'll
that
watch
long.
it.
They're only a few minutes.
Okay.
So, yeah, they're only a
You
couple
guys
minutes.
go
So
watch
them
it.
and let me know what you think.
Go watch it.
Yeah, they're. I still think they're kind of funny, and it was me, but you know, I cracked myself up. What can I say? Oh damn! What did? Oh shit! We missed Jerry too. Shit, sorry, Jerry. Or she may not even be there still. But,
Well, thanks for
damn,
bringing
we
me
had a
up
few people
today.
in
It's
the
been a
queue.
great live. Had fun.
Oh yeah, there's Jerry. Sorry, Jerry. I hadn't even looked at the queue, and good lord, almost 2 hours. But yeah, thanks for coming up, Miss Petrina. It's always a pleasure. If y'all aren't following Miss Petrina, she does lives too that are really good. She does more like panel style lives, so you get more voices than just my hickish, uh, inbredish type tone that I take it here.
I
But
don't know if
anyway,
it's as
guys,
entertaining, but still.
right. But yeah, y'all definitely check out my little videos there and let me know what you think in the comments on them. They're pretty funny. I think they're funny anyway. My mom thought it was really funny. But anyway, we will catch y'all later, guys. So this was episode 118, I believe. 118.
Awesome.
In the last 120 days. Ouchies. So I've had 2 days off in the 120 from the stream. Damn. Powerhouse, ain't it? But anyway, guys, we
Yes.
will catch y'all later. Maybe tomorrow. I might actually take tomorrow off. We'll see though. Sometimes I just wake up and I'm like, we gotta try to talk sense into some folks today. We know they're still really around out there, so
Yep.
I feel like I gotta
Yep.
almost have an obligation. Like shit, pizza at my house after church.
Slowly
I hear
but
you, dog.
surely. Slowly but
There
surely
we
they
go.
change.
True. Sometimes it's just that I think it's just like that one fact you can hit somebody with sometimes
Yeah.
that just totally obliterates their current.
That's what
That's
did it for
kind of what
me.
happened to me. Yeah,
Me
exactly.
too.
Like you weren't learn one little thing, you're like, no, that's a big problem. And then
Yep.
you can't fix it. And you're like, is there another problem like this? Then you learn that there's a bunch. It's crazy. So you eventually just have to do it. But anyway, guys, thank you all so much for being here. It was an awesome day. The weekends
Have
are
a
hard
good
to
day.
judge. Back at you, Miss Petrina. Y'all have a wonderful one, all of you. Thank you all. Appreciate you. And we will see y'all later.